It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Marshall Kirkpatrick is here. Larry Magid, my friend Jacob Ward. We've got a great panel and lots to talk about, including the biggest change to Google search in 25 years. Jacob was at the Musk versus Altman trial. He'll talk about what it was like to be sitting there and watching the whole thing. And there's good news and bad news. That creepy listening tool for targeted ads didn't actually work. And the FTC says, we're going to fine you. It should have worked. What? All of that and more coming up next on Twit. This episode is brought to you by OutSystems, a leading agentic systems platform built for the enterprise. Organizations all over the world are building, orchestrating, and governing agentic systems on the OutSystems platform, and with good reason. Architect, deliver, and scale governed agentic systems with agility and trust using one open and unified platform. Power secure company-wide agentic orchestration for core business operations. Teams of any size and technical depth can use OutSystems to build, deploy, and manage AI apps and agents quickly and cost-effectively without compromising reliability and security. With OutSystems, you can rapidly launch ideas from concept to completion. It's the leading agentic systems platform that's unified, agile, and enterprise-proven, allowing you to accelerate growth, reduce operational friction, and deliver real enterprise impact with AI. OutSystems. Build your agentic future. Learn more at outsystems.com/twit. That's outsystems.com/twit.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 1085, recorded Sunday, May 24th, 2026. Waiting in line with Sam. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news. And at first I thought the tech news was kind of weak this week, but then I took a stronger look, and fortunately we have a panel that is up to the task. Larry Magid is here, ConnectSafely.org founder and president, but also like me, a refugee from radio. We're going to talk about the demise of CBS News in a little bit. Good to see you, Larry. Welcome back.
Good to see you, Leo, as always.
And we also talk about your blog post about how AI helped you understand why you weren't feeling so good the other day. But that's to come. Also with us, Marshall Kirkpatrick. It's always great to see Marshall, longtime a tech journalist. His latest, though, is a browser extension that applies AI to the pager on called What's Up With That? Hey, Marshall. Good to see you.
Thanks, Leo.
Welcome. Marshall was on Intelligent Machines, but you were on Twit many times back in the day. You kind of what I would say is an old timer, a Twit old timer. Also with us, Jacob Ward. Jacob is the author of a great book called The Loop, which presaged what's going on today with AI. He was absolute, ahead of his time on that one. He's back. You're back, I see, on CNN now, which is great.
Yeah, I have a contributor role at CNN. Very exciting. Appreciate it, Leo.
You also see him, of course, every month on Tech News Weekly, and his newsletter is The Rip Current at theripcurrent.com. So, I don't know where to begin here. Let's, as long as we started talking about radio off the air, and I said, wait a minute, hold on. Let's hold that for the show, because Larry, you asked me a kind of a leading question. Is radio dead?
Right. And you gave me bad news.
Well, it's funny because for years I've been saying, who listens to the radio? And often our audience says we do.
Yeah.
I said, do young people still listen to the radio? But I think maybe in the car people still listen to radio. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, I mean, CBS News Radio, as of last week, before it died on Friday, had 22 million listeners on 700 affiliates across the country.
So somebody's
now, that was below their peak. They peaked at 33 million during my career, but they claimed that they had still had 22 million listeners a week, which is more than CBS Evening News gets. In fact, more than all the evening news gets combined.
Wow.
So it has an audience.
Wow.
At least they claim.
Well, who do you think that is? I mean, it's funny, Jacob. When I get in the car, I fire up TuneIn and listen to CNN. That's my news radio.
I do too. I listen to CNN too.
Yeah.
I was talking to an entrepreneur recently living in Lagos, Nigeria, who said that he had just taken a big executive job at a big radio station there, and was talking about how hot radio is still in West Africa. That for a lot of people, it is still the dominant media, dominant music. It was like talking to somebody from a time capsule, from a time traveler, and he was just saying how cool it is to combine the social media stuff with what's going on in radio. Anyway, it was very cool to imagine, but we are not living in that kind of world here, no question.
Well, as William Gibson once said, the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed.
Yeah, right.
There's some of us living in a different decade than others. If you are in a developed country like this, where there's internet floating through the air and available to everyone, everywhere, all the time, thanks to our cell phones and cell service, I don't understand why you would listen. Why you would even. By the way, people still subscribe to Sirius. I don't understand why. You can get all of that. Maybe, I guess, if you're not always in cell service. So,
as I mentioned to you off air, I got an invitation to go to this event in New York on Friday. I said,
you went to the funeral for CBS News.
And I said, do I want to spend all this time and money flying across the country for a 2-hour luncheon? I said, yeah, if a good friend died, I would go to their funeral.
It's like that, isn't it?
And this was the death of a radio network, 99 years old. Edward R. Murrow was one of the very first people on the
Tiffany Network.
The Tiffany Network. It was historic, and it was still the largest radio news network in the country as of until this week. And so I showed up, and first of all, it was a wonderful event. I got to meet all of these great people who I know by name and voice, but because I work remotely, I rarely got a chance to see them in person. And it's over. They pulled the plug on us at 11:31 Friday night. We did our last broadcast, and now all the stations are moving over to ABC News because they still have a news service. For whatever.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah. So, well, it is what it is.
I mean, is there such a thing as CBS was now owned by Paramount?
CBS is owned by Paramount, which is Larry Ellison's son, David, I think his name is. Yeah. I mean,
Skydance.
You want to buy this? I could sell it cheap.
I would buy that.
No, I'm keeping it.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did they own CBS News Radio? Did they get that? Yeah,
so what happened was CBS divested their stations about 6 or 7 years ago.
That became
so they didn't own any local radio stations. They used to own KCBS, for example, in the Bay Area, and WCBS in New York.
I grew up listening to WCBS. That's where I heard that RFK had been assassinated.
Yeah, and I used to be on WCBS daily. I loved being on WCBS.
And I heard you all the time,
Yeah.
I was a child, of course, at the time.
Absolutely. No, I was on the air as recently as Friday. Because I still do a feature, even though I'm no longer an employee.
I mean, radio's in my heart. In December, will be the 50th anniversary of getting my FCC third ticket, so I could work in radio. I will always consider myself a radio guy, and that's why I do podcasting, because it is the heir apparent to radio.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's still audio focused. It's some person talking to a microphone in your ear. And
these are delivery mechanisms. At the end of the day, it's exactly
who cares
the
how
same
it comes to you?
I mean, there's a difference. So I don't know. Maybe you guys know of a podcast that would compete with something like the CBS, hourly news, where we had a 3-minute.
Well, there was one, but OpenAI bought it.
Yeah, right.
Right? The Tech Bros Podcast Network for hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, that one was crazy.
And then Mark Andreessen's venture capital arm they did something called Monitoring the Situation, which is a direct clone of TPBN or TBPN. But those are both on YouTube. There's several hours a day streaming, and they have really more like a CNBC look and feel to them. Where there's
but they are not independent, right? They're not playing the role of a journalistic outlet, holding power accountable. It is an adversarial landscape, and I presume, right? There's like some who killed Robert or who framed Roger Rabbit kind of stuff going on here, where this isn't just the the unstoppable march of time forward. This is around corporate consolidation and regulatory capture and media capture and a part of a larger shift towards authoritarianism.
And I should mention that, not only did CBS Radio News die on Friday, but so did the Stephen Colbert show. The next day, it was actually very funny. Stephen Colbert shows up on public access.
Yeah, that was awesome. So funny.
Well, but it's kind of not funny. It was called Only in Monroe. I guess he'd done the show once before. And it was, by the way, watch it because it's hysterical. And Jack White is on. I mean, it's really good, funny stuff, but it is a local access in
I've never
Monroe,
heard of that
Michigan.
city, let alone that television.
It's tiny. Yeah.
So brilliant. That's such a
But
good
get
tool for
this.
programming.
Paramount Plus took it down. They don't own it. They don't own him, but they issued a strike to YouTube and it has been taken down globally.
What right do they have to do that?
I have no idea. This is the problem with YouTube takedowns.
Also, the world's dumbest thing, you give it as much, oxygen as possible, right? That's the thing. Like
Streisand effect, right?
You just put it right into the news cycle by doing that. I feel like you just need these, there needs to be C-suite training and here is how humor works.
How stupid can you be?
Here is how attention works. There just isn't good training at that level.
I owe Brendan Carr a debt of gratitude because I didn't really pay much attention to Jimmy Kimmel until he got banned.
Right.
Now I record it every night and watch it every single morning. I watched a monologue, and I never did that until they took him off the air.
So Paramount, Larry Ellison's son, I think, feeling the pressure from Brendan Carr's FCC, decided to pull Colbert. ABC showed a little bit of spine not pulling Jimmy Kimmel, but I think some of that was the public reaction to that.
Oh, yeah.
What is that? Why CBS Radio News went away, or is that more an economic decision?
What my friends, including the up until a couple of days ago, senior management at the newsroom said was that we were slightly profitable, that they were in the black. And boy, being in the black in media, I don't care how close you are to the red. As long as you're in the black, that should be a good sign. Now, CBS will say it was for financial reasons, but do you think it's political? I think it's political. I think, look, for all of the criticisms of mainstream media, and I understand them and I have my own critiques, we worked really hard to tell the truth. I mean, knowingly lying on CBS News Radio was a fireable offense. And I can't say the same for some of the other shows out there, networks out there. And, I don't think we had a left-wing bias. I think we really did have a straightforward news-gathering bias, which may be very uncomfortable to certain people in power. Telling the truth can be dangerous if you're basing your administration on lies. And we were just telling the truth. That's all we were doing.
Yeah.
Now, I was a commentator. I got to editorialize a bit, but still, the network.
Yeah, right. It's pretty hard in a world where podcasting exists, where the internet exists, and Brendan Carr and the FCC's reach does not extend to that. I mean, they may try to make it, but it's pretty hard to shut down dissent and commentary.
And the real question, and Jacob, as you know, CNN could very well be, likely is going to be owned by these same people that own CBS. The question is, how relevant is it? Does it really matter, given the internet, that Ellison owns CBS and may soon own
here's my argument about that. So I should say, right, I'm a contributor at CNN. I'm not a full-time employee, but I have a relationship with CNN. So I'm not speaking for CNN here in any way. But this question of, right, does it matter who owns these platforms in an age of declining relevance for mainstream media, blah, blah, blah. I hear that. On the other hand, so I'm part of a sort of informal network of creators, and there's a Slack channel that goes around. And one of the people the other day said, and these are people who are they might have some kind of posts on, they tend to do stuff about knitting or cooking or whatever it is. And they started, in some cases, talking about current events. And before they knew it, they were some of the top voices in the nation on current events. And so one of them said, hey, I've just been leaked some documents from this government agency, and I don't know what to do with them because I have no training, right? And they were like, what kind of quick journalism training can I get to figure out what to do? And so I put together a little like informal kind of like crash course in journalism, like a journalism 101 for these folks, because their numbers are so huge and their relationship with their audience is so close that these people, inside sensitive government facilities are leaking them stuff because they think this is the person to go to, as opposed to the BBC or CNN or whoever else. So crazy. Also, when I then did the 101 thing, I basically said to people like, listen, you guys are operating right now in a world in which there's a primary layer of journalism that you have come to expect will always be there. The Anderson Cooper hard-hitting interviews, the rocket fire into Bahrain and the footage you get from the news of that. And then you guys consider yourselves to be in this sort of like commentary class, you're offering your perspective on the news, which is what so many of these people are doing. And I was like, well, what happens when the primary goes away? Because you're going to, these folks also basically, like, they all need that primary layer in order for their secondary commentary layer to work. So everybody wants it there. What we know is that, like, young people actually consume an enormous amount of news. They just do it through the clips that
they watch TikTok.
Layer doing. Yeah, which clips the news. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's their news.
And so the current system is really, even though the money's not flowing to the primary layer of journalism, it's still very relevant and people still really want it. It's just being consumed in this whole other way. And what I was saying to these people are like, are you ready to be the primary layer if the primary layer falls apart as a business model?
Yeah, because somebody has to.
Can you afford it?
This is completely analogous to what's happening with AI, which is AI has eaten all the primary sources, and is in some respects putting the primary sources out of business. But they desperately need those primary sources.
And CNN has bureaus all over the world. That's a really expensive operation. No, YouTube star is likely to have 20 bureaus around the world.
Good point.
And that's reporters gathering facts.
The thing that came down the other day, sorry, Marshall, I didn't mean to cut you off there. The thing that came down the other day that I was really freaked out about was Meta announced a new policy that they're going to spike creators who post unoriginal content.
What?
Yeah, that they talk about it in the context of like, oh, we're protecting the creator. Adam Mosseri had this piece, this post about it. We're protecting creators and their original works. And so if what you post is not substantially transformed or not yours specifically, then they're going to like.
That's interesting.
Not only will it downgrade that content, it'll downgrade you as a creator. So like the people in my cohort are like panicked because news footage is one of the main things that goes around for them. And I was thinking to myself, boy, I don't know if that's Meta's intention.
Oh, they're morons.
You know what? They could really be bad for news, for understanding the news. Like it could really screw up people's sense of what's going on in the world.
No, and if you think about it, it's counterproductive. What made TikTok a success? They bought Musical.ly, and the success of TikTok was people lip syncing to other people's music. And eventually TikTok really became about collabs and responses and taking existing content and repackaging it. And I think Meta's they're on the wrong side of history, but this is nothing new for Meta.
So Barbara Streisand was already rich, right? When the Streisand effect came into being, she could get in there and she could withstand the pressure. She could freak out. I'm sure she was on the phone with her lawyers, et cetera, et cetera. But this, I would contend that when the powers that be put pressure on people, if those people are already deep-pocketed and have big legal teams, then it becomes a Streisand effect situation. But if they're more on the margins, then it becomes a SLAPP situation, a strategic lawsuit against public participation, because they don't have the capacity to withstand that barrage. Right. And
well, that's why we defend Section 230, because if you are Meta, if you are Google, if you are a big company, you can defend yourself in court. But people like us and our little chat rooms and our little Mastodon instances and our forums, we can't. And that's why Section 230 is necessary.
Well, I have a question. So I was always a big defender of 230, but I'm questioning whether it's relevant in the age of algorithms. If Meta is amplifying posts, doesn't that make them a publisher? They're not just running a forum. It's not like the old days of CompuServe forums where anything goes. They are amplifying.
That's right. That's what the jury decided, isn't it?
The design. The design was not. I mean, they didn't take on Section 230.
Product design.
Yeah, they just said that the design was. They were culpable for the effect that the design has on your behavior, which is I think is good. It keeps.
Yeah, by the way, my chat rooms don't have an algorithm. My Mastodon.
That's right.
Just is chronological, baby. My forums, chronological. There is no editorial. So if that's the case, maybe you're right. Maybe Section 230 does not and should not defend the algorithmic publishing. That is, I guess, in a way, publishing. And that's what that jury found in San Jose. But
exactly. I'm a big believer in 230 in general.
Yeah,
although I hate to temporarily turned off the algorithm on Facebook and made it chronological, and it got really boring. Now, that may be because I have thousands of, I've got followers and friends. Before they allowed followers, I used to accept everybody's friends because that was the only way I could have people follow me.
Right.
So maybe that's the problem, but
no, it's not. It's the same problem with Mastodon. That's why nobody likes Mastodon, because it's not algorithmic.
I track my news through a system that I built myself. That has an algorithm tuned specifically.
Your algorithm.
For my specific interests.
Yeah.
I've got a few areas of interest, and I click a button, and it just says, whoosh, here's the 10 most relevant articles from across everything you're monitoring about that each day. And
maybe that's the future, is hyper personal.
That's super interesting. I love that. Marshall, can I ask you a question? So let's say we scale that up, right? And each of us gets to construct our thing. So I have something sort of like that as well. And I was just thinking, okay, no one's making money off of your system or mine, not least because no one's centralizing your behavioral profile and bucketing it with all of the other behavioral profiles, blah, 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 right? But is there a money-making opportunity at scale for each person personalizing a news feed in that way?
Can I just suggest that that's what we do here at Twit? Is we pick the stories that we think are important and we talk about them, and that editorial judgment is what we monetize. That's
right. Sure.
Wow, what a concept. You think the New York Times might start doing that?
I was going to say, at that level,
that's called journalism.
As a broadcaster, it works, right? But as an individual, as a bunch of individuals with a one-to-one relationship with the algorithm.
I'll show you something I subscribe to. It's called No Scroll. I found it on Twitter. It is an AI. It says No Scroll monitors the situation so you don't have to. Every morning at 9 a.m., No Scroll sends me a list of stories. I tell it ahead of time what I'm interested in, and it sends me a list of stories on Telegram. It's a Telegram bot that I might want to cover. It's $10 a month, and it's one of the many tools I use to keep track of stories we want to cover on the show. I don't know. I presume, it's $10 a month. They're monetizing it. I don't know how big it's become. I'm trying to get the founders on to talk about it. So there are ways to do this. And Marshall, you're kind of monetizing it with What's Up With That, right?
Yeah, What's Up With That? And then, so that's my X-ray tool. But then I've also got a companion radar type tool called Hawkeye. And is that available? Together. Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. Where's that?
It's at whatsupwiththat.app/Hawkeye.
Okay.
And so I'm setting that up for organizations. I sell that. And what it does is we map out, you give us some examples of the kinds of organizations you're interested in. I go out and map out hundreds of related kinds of organizations, monitor them each day. Yeah. And then click on one of those magazine covers there in the bottom right. One of the things that it does is publish. And then if you click through on the right side, there's an arrow there. It generates these magazine.
This is analogous to something that's been around in journalism for decades, which is a clipping service, right?
Right.
If you're Barbara Streisand, you pay for a clipping service that will send you every day all the places you were mentioned. Well, so then Google did that still does that, right? Google
has inductive reasoning, though, on top of it, because it takes a whole bunch of related stories.
AI makes it better.
Find me, do some cluster analysis and see what some common themes are, and generate some original analysis covering those themes.
I will say one of the things that I think none of this solves for, and it's a comment brought up on your Discord right now. I don't know how you say your name, LRAU.
That's Larry. It's Larry Gold. It's Laurentium Gold.
This is good. This is good classic twit. I can't read it out loud, but it looks good on screen.
It's a nerd name.
Yeah, totally.
LRAU.
But he says, what I find with algorithms tuned to me, you don't find anything outside of my bubble. That's my number one problem.
It's the filter bubble. Yeah.
Because like in the, and not just in the like ideological sense, which is bad, it makes a lot of sense, this thing of like, we're going to serve up like intelligence, tailored to your specific job function. Great. What I want is the old experience of like wandering through the, a paper edition of the New York Times, bumping into some crazy article about something weird going on in Indonesia that I would never read about otherwise, and that no algorithm would ever predict I'd be into, and being like, wow, that's really interesting. His wife organized the murder of this guy, and that's crazy. Like the random discovery stuff.
And as a newsletter writer, that's kind of important, right? Because you want to find something that not everybody. So I am in exactly the same boat. 90% of the stories we do are the same stories everybody who's covering tech does. And I use the AI to do that. This is the daily tech briefing that my AI generates for me for all three shows that I do. And so I let it do that. But you're exactly right, Jacob. I don't get from that the weird, the oddball. So
my favorite experience, if I may, is with that, I'm a subscriber to a book publisher called PM Press, where for $30 a month, they just send me every book they publish that month. And I get all kinds of like wild stuff that I wouldn't have chosen. That's brilliant. To buy until it shows up in my mailbox in a package about, Appalachian coal miner labor disputes. Cool. And it's really neat.
So I think about that because in the days of newspapers, let's say you're a sports fanatic, and that's really all you care about. You still have to pass the front page on the way to the sports section. So you're going to get some information. But now you could just go to ESPN or whatever your sports source and completely ignore what's happening in the rest of the world.
Well, worse than that, you could say, I only want to know about football. Don't tell me about baseball.
Right.
I mean, you can really narrow it down. So I think there is an obligation on the part of information consumers to try to reach outside their filter bubble. Eli Pariser wrote that very famous book of The Filter Bubble, and Jeff Jarvis has always argued against it. He said, you can say, well, you're only seeing stuff you're interested in, but it is the nature of the internet that stuff comes in over the transom that you would not see otherwise. And I think that's also true. I think
how does TikTok work?
TikTok is exactly that. Exactly.
It's just pure, isn't it? Just perpetually refined, exactly the kind of stuff you like.
Yeah. The funny thing about TikTok is that it used to be much more like random awesome stuff. You'd get like a Jamaican truck driver teaching you how he makes breakfast in his cab, and that kind of stuff where you're like, wow, I would never bump into this on any other platform. Now it's become a little more specific, and you have to basically reset your feed every so often because it starts to peg you. And my thing is, starts to figure out who you are. Peg you is the wrong word.
Yes, please.
Don't say that.
Thank you, but that sounds painful.
Sorry about that. But the that narrowing of what it gives you, it gets boring really quick. And for me, what I'm always trying to do is convince it that I'm somebody demographically that I'm not. So I'm always trying to convince it that I'm like a 25-year-old black woman.
That's
or whatever.
Smart.
Like I'm trying to like heart stuff about that, or whatever. And then I'll linger too long on something, and it'll be like, "Oh, you're a white guy in your 50s," and it's basically like camping,
you need more
stuff,
bikinis,
and archery, and cars, and Jack Reacher, and I'm like,
pickleball. That's what you want. You want
pickleball. I get so much pickleball. Exactly. I'm like, God damn it! I have to.
My daughter, who's a millennial, taught me that. She said, "Dad, you have to really." She said, "What you really need is multiple accounts because it pays." I don't know if TikTok's as sophisticated anymore now that it's owned by Larry Ellison, but it pays attention to what you look at morning, noon, and night. It is very fine-tuned. I mean, this was really their secret sauce, right? And she says, but you can completely cultivate by what you linger on, what you watch, and what you don't linger on. And so I'm scrolling through. I said, see, I get all these bikini pictures. She says, don't stop there. Because you're sending a signal.
Leo, I'm glad you admitted that because I get that even on Facebook Reels, and I'm almost reluctant to admit it because it's kind of acknowledging that maybe once in a while I actually look at this stuff.
Well, of course, we're men. We can't help but stop.
My wife is watching.
It's not just men that love boobs, for goodness sake.
You can't look away, I know.
I don't want to stop. I really don't. So I have noticed that, I took Instagram and TikTok off my phone, and they've been off for 6 months. And I went back to Instagram because, unfortunately, my son is an Instagram influencer, and I kind of, if I'm going to find out what Henry's up to, I have to every once in a while check Instagram. But I do notice that Instagram, I think, got sensitive to that. I don't get the thirst traps I used to get. I mean, used to be all I would see on Instagram was young women basically trying to get you to join their OnlyFans. And that's stopped. So I think they are playing with the algorithm a little bit.
Leo, you remind me of this preacher. Years ago when I took ads on safekids.com, somehow I got this letter from a preacher that says, I found a sexually provocative ad on your website, and you should not be, a site on kid safety should not be. I said, I'm sorry to tell you, Reverend, but it's based not on what's on my website. It's based on what you're looking at, sir. So
my website just serves up what you want, Reverend.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, so there is a continuum, right, of interests between like a liberal democratic prioritization on diversity and growth, and instead, people say if you're trying to reach across the aisle, like make appeals to purity and tradition and the instruments of power, buying up these social networks and tuning the algorithms are more aligned to the latter, and it's a self-reinforcing cultural. And
that's what Jonathan Haidt said.
The problem is that purity used to be a Republican value. I'm not sure it is anymore. I mean, I know it's not.
Talking about it, appeals to purity are.
I see. Talking about purity. Yeah.
Yeah. Jonathan Haidt, before he became the guy who says kids are being ruined, kids today being ruined in social media, wrote a really good book. I interviewed him on it about why we can't talk to one another, and he really talks about the left and the right and the values that each side holds highest. And as you said, purity is one of them on the more conservative side, and fairness. It's just really interesting. And you're right, that would end up getting self-perpetuated. But I think we've talked about solutions here. I think this is a potential flaw with AI. I think one of the things that's happening with AI, we're all four of us examples of this, is people are writing their own custom filters and custom services and custom search tools.
Some people are, but it's
not everybody, obviously, but those of us in the cutting edge of tech are everybody. It's so funny because I was telling Larry this. I have people on the show. I used to have to say, well, do you use AI? Now it's not. It's a given. Because if you're covering technology, this is one of the most consequential things that's ever happened in technology, and you will be left out unless you actually start using it, right?
Who said that in the future the world will be made up of a small group of people who tell computers what to do, and a larger group of people who will be told what to do by computers?
That's changing, though. I think AI might be changing that.
But
I think
AI
it's empowering individuals in a way that we.
But there's a handful of companies that dominate AI already. I mean, industries start out with a lot of companies and they consolidate. We're already consolidated to it.
All right, that's a good place for us to pause for a break, because I do want to talk about Google I/O, which was this week, and their announcements. But there was a big announcement that's kind of a secondary story from a Chinese company that I think is also very interesting. So we're gonna talk about that in just a little bit. Good conversation, though. Great way to start. I really appreciate you bringing up CBS News Radio, and I'm sorry, Larry.
May it rest in peace.
Yeah, may it rest in peace. I didn't realize that Friday was the last day.
It was Friday, 11:31 p.m.
Boy.
But there was a new network that launched at midnight, Saturday midnight, called the Worldwide News Network. It's owned by the same right-wing billionaire who owns WABC in New York. But its news director, who is pitching me, claims that they're, totally neutral politically, and don't worry, if you come on our network, we're not going to surround you by right-wing ideology. So
that's really the concern I have, is the consolidation. And you nailed it when you said, Jacob, that TBPN and Monitoring the Situation, MTS, are not real news organizations because they're owned by the people they cover. That really is what's happened. Is the rich have gotten so we are in a second Gilded Age, and they are so powerful, and they are so wealthy, and they are buying up all of these means of communication, and furthermore, fully understand how to use them to protect their own interests in a clever way.
So in theaters now, WBAI's Amy Goodman, now producer of Democracy Now!, syndicated nationwide. She's got a biopic in movie theaters called Steal This Story, Please.
Yes.
Good.
That's really good.
Good. BAI is great. She's great.
And is Murdoch buying Vox? Is that actually going to happen? Because Vox is pretty.
It happened. James Murdoch, but it's the son.
Yeah.
Who was cast out for his liberalism from the Murdoch family. So but the point, I don't care about right or left. That's the point, is that these people have so much money that whatever side they want to advocate for, they can buy up the means of communication. And it does
why would
worry
they
me.
ever subject themselves to an interview, a hostile interview from any of the four of us?
Ever
or
again.
anybody else? That's right.
Ever again.
Yeah.
And that worries me. We need people who will speak truth to power.
Yeah. I used to love interviewing Bezos back in the day, but he probably wouldn't talk to me again.
No.
Yeah,
Why should
Ross Sorkin is as hard a hitting interview as he'll do anymore. That's right.
Yeah. We'll have more in just a bit. Jacob Ward is here. So glad about the CNN thing. That's fantastic. I love seeing you when
Thanks, man.
I get all excited. I go, Jacob's on. JacobWard.com. The Rip Current is his newsletter, and of course he appears every month on Tech News Weekly with Micah Sargent. Marshall Kirkpatrick, the creator of, well, now I have to say what's up with that, and Hawkeye, two very interesting uses of AI to help people figure out what's up with that, which is you become a publisher. That's great. That's awesome. So always good to see you, Marshall. And Larry Magid of connectsafely.org and formerly of CBS News Radio. That mic flag makes me sad.
I know.
Really does. Yeah.
I'm going to put it back on my mic.
That was really my news as a kid. I had a clock radio would come on, when I had to get up 6 a.m. or whatever.
KCBS, KNX, WABC.
It was WCBS. I was in Providence.
Yeah. Oh, you're in New York, yeah.
Yeah, and that was my news, and I
great radio station.
It's how I became a news junkie.
That is completely off the air. I mean, WCBS, they killed that about a year ago. I know. Completely.
So radio may not be dead, but
it's limping.
It's limping hard. Our show today brought to you by, speaking of AI, Superhuman. I love Superhuman. We use Superhuman. Stop letting single function tools disrupt your workflow. This is so real when you're sitting there writing or you're working. Constant context and tab switching are death. They make project management tedious, disjointed. Your brain is not designed to be switching back and forth like that. But Superhuman has an answer, Grammarly. And Grammarly is now part of something bigger, Superhuman. It can help level up your productivity without all the context switching. AI tools are everywhere. As we probably all learned, some of them make more work and take up even more of your time. Most of them don't really give you what you need. Well, now there's Superhuman, the AI productivity suite that gives you superpowers wherever you work. Think of Superhuman as your AI dream team, proactively helping you with every aspect of your workflow. Built-in intelligence from Grammarly, Mail, and Coda. You can now get things done faster and collaborate seamlessly without all that context switching. Superhuman gets what you really need. AI that gets you from day one. There's no learning curve. It's just simple. It's easy to use. Superhuman knows what you might need and proactively offers suggestions to improve when you're drafting emails, when you're creating documents, and more. Superhuman helps you go from to-do to done faster. Superhuman ensures you stand out. It's AI that's personalized for you to sound like you, not like some AI. At your best. Sound like you at your best, not like everyone else. No need to repeat what you want, sharing the same context over and over again, because Superhuman remembers. It works alongside you, automatically understanding where you're at, proactively offering suggestions. Your writing agent understands what you're going for, what you need, creates helpful outputs that match your writing style. We love it. Our whole team uses it. Unleash your superhuman potential with AI that meets you where you work. Learn more at superhuman.com. That's superhuman.com. superhuman.com. We thank them so much for supporting This Week in Tech. So Google had its big developer conference on a Tuesday and announced, like 1,000 things. To me, the most consequential thing, the thing that I think people are going to, in the long run, say makes the most difference is they really changed search. After 25 years of the simple Google search box that gave you a list of links, this has been slowly happening, right, with the AI assistants, and they are now using their latest Gemini model, the 3.5 Flash, and they are really changing how the search box works, essentially keeping you on Google. They're answering longer queries with graphics, pictures, full answers instead of links. They have a video generation tool. They're also focusing on bringing online shopping into the search window so that you don't go to Amazon or Dick's Sporting Goods. You have it all in one window and you do your whole shopping there. This is, I think, is a massive shift. Google obviously doing this in response to companies like Perplexity kind of and ChatGPT disintermediating search. People more and more do search with AI and don't go to those sites. But this is what I was talking about in the last segment where, potentially you're going to kill the goose that laid the golden eggs. There's all the monetization flows directly to Google, not to the sites that content comes from. Marshall, do you think this is a problem or is this a good thing?
Oh, I think time will tell how well people appreciate it.
Maybe they'll just leave Google.
There's backlash already where people say, I don't want AI in my search results and in my graduation ceremony speech. And
man. Whew.
But does Google do a better job than SEO hungry websites trying to pull you into who can you trust? Who is most credible? I think will be the big question.
Yeah, and people may reject it on the surface, but if it's better, if they use it and they find it's got better results, they'll quickly get over their concerns. What do you think, Jacob? This is part of the loop, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my nightmare, right? It points to this thing, and there's a healthy debate going on, in the Discord conversation about, does what people want line up with what is good business? And, do what we want philosophically line up with what our brains want instinctually? And those things are so far apart. And I think the whole of modern human history has to do with conquering our instincts and making a sustainable structure out of who we want to be. And the tech industry is just not about that.
No.
What they're about is
they don't care, do they?
Let's ship, let's get it sticky, let's go, right? And in this case, it's so short-sighted for so many reasons. I mean, it's short-sighted just from a business perspective because it's not clear to me, Google is doing to publishers exactly what AI companies are accused of doing to Google, right? They're just turning on their source in this terrible way. So there's this fundamental thing of just destroying the market for information. I mean, HubSpot, I think, estimated that 70 or 80% of their traffic disappears on this. DMG Media documented drops as steep as 89% for some queries. We're entering the world of zero-click searches.
Yeah.
That's a nightmare for anybody that tries to make money on that stuff. And then the last thing I'll just say is there was a paper at NeurIPS this year, right? The big academic conference last year. Time is a flat circle. And NeurIPS, right, the big academic conference on AI had there were a bunch of papers that won an award, and one of them was called Artificial Hive Mind. And I really recommend people take a look at this. It is so fascinating. What they did is they took 70 top LLMs and they put this corpus of 27,000 open-ended creative questions through all 70. So that's, Llama and Gemini and ChatGPT and everything. They then, out of that, measured over time where those answers kind of went. So these are open-ended questions, write me a poem about time. And what they found is that if you ask the question repeatedly, over time, the answers narrow into a slimmer and slimmer band of responses. So rather than it getting more expansive, it gets less expansive. You're getting less information over time. It's homogenized, exactly. Mm-hmm. And here's the really crazy part, is that when they looked at across the 70 different models, they all start converging on the same answers. Mm-hmm. So, it's like time is a river is what they all end up writing. In the end, these cliched kind of college freshman kind of responses, right? And so for me, the nightmare here is like Google, for all of its flaws, was once upon a time a place where you could really go and find very individual stuff. You could really experience a raw feed or a semi-raw feed of weird, specific research, derived knowledge. And now, man, it's just going to be margarine, and I really. There's all the business problems, and there's a huge number of business problems. But man, the homogenizing, the greatest hits medley that we're about to be listening to all the time is really disturbing to me.
Yeah. And furthermore, controlled by the giants, the tech giants.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But even before this, one of the things that always frustrated me in Google is when I'm looking for information, they would almost always link me to a YouTube video. And sometimes I just want to read it, right? But they don't get monetized if they send me to some random news source.
They were always self-dealing, right?
Yeah.
This is what the EU complained about. I mean, and Google denied, but Google Shopping, Google YouTube results. Google said, well, we just want to give you the best results. We're just trying to give people what they want, and that's what they want.
Well, but if they're letting you shop on Google and not sending you to merchants, what is that going to do? I mean, I guess it's bad. I don't care if it screws Amazon, but it's going to screw everybody who's in the business.
What happens is, in some ways, it gives Walmart and Wayfair and all these companies a way to compete against Amazon. But they have to play the game. They have to play the game on Google's terms. They have to support the universal cart, the UCP protocol. And they have to say, okay, we're going to show up in the Google results because that's where people are shopping. And then suddenly Google has all this power. This is what happened with Google Ads. You called this in your book, The Loop. You called it.
Yeah.
This is the loop, isn't it?
Yeah. It feels like an expanding spiral of choice that is in fact a narrowing spiral of it's contracting. Yeah. And at the bottom of that spiral, we don't know how to tell jokes or talk to our spouses or use a credit card or any of that stuff, and to me, cut to 5 years, according to what they're building here and at Google. And like, I think, you're going to have people be like, oh, I don't want to have to go like look for the thing I want to buy.
Right.
I just want to say,
I do that.
I need detergent, or I need, a shirt. And that's the end. It's just like, it just becomes mush in this way that I think the market is going to be there. I mean,
so
I will say
you need a shirt. It's going to find a shirt for you, whether you would have chosen it or not.
Well, yeah. And you're never going to want to go and spend time being like, I wonder where this shirt was sourced from. And, unless you can sort of tell it what to do. Like, you're just not going to, not that shopping is my number one care about this stuff, but like, just any active reaching out for knowledge or active reaching out for engagement with the world, they want to jump in there and make it so easy you'll forget how to do it.
But isn't that what
people say, well, I'll use DuckDuckGo, or I pay $25 a month for Coggy search. But I got to point out that the index almost all of these other tools use is Bing and Google.
Right.
And so if this becomes the way of the world, there won't be any differentiation anymore because they don't have their own search indexes.
But what's really scary about this, if you think about education, I mean, the purpose of education should be not to fill your head with knowledge, but to teach you how to think critically and to teach you how to acquire knowledge. That has always been, the main important outcome of a good education. And it almost sounds like they really are dumbing us down. Like, this education is going to become irrelevant if once we get out of school, all we get is pablum served to us without having to think about it.
Well, it's clearly what Google wants. Here's an image from Google I/O, TechCrunch published. When Pura releases a new scent that's based in sandalwood for under $15, grab it for me. That's it. That's the last interaction you're going to have with that company. Mm-hmm. You'll just, one day, that scent will arrive at your door, and that's it. It's done. And that's what Google wants, because Google's going to get a cut of that transaction. You're not going to leave Google. You're going to stay in the Google world. It really looked to me, watching Google I/O, that Google was taking a page from Apple's ecosystem lock-in book. Apple's done very well in hardware by making it just work better if you use all Apple stuff. Well, Google's doing kind of the same thing. They have it now, they saw what happened with OpenClaw, and they announced their own agent, Spark. Same idea. They have this universal protocol for shopping, UCP. So you never have to leave the Google page. And they're changing the front page of search. So it's not really a list of links isn't the result. The result is the answer you want.
Well, Mark Andreessen once said that he was investing in virtual reality goggles, even though many of his San Francisco-based friends didn't get it, because he said, you might think that the world is beautiful walking through San Francisco, but in the future, the vast majority of humanity will live in cement boxes in company towns, and they're going to really want VR goggles.
Oh my God.
So that's a market opportunity by his logic, right?
Oh my God, this is so depressing. Yeah. But it is, if you think about it, all of the movies and sci-fi stories like Neuromancer and Ready Player One, they're always, when they wear these things or jack in, they're in a dystopia. They are jacking in. They are wearing the visors to escape the dystopia. That's universal in sci-fi.
Well, where we look, the direction we look is the direction the car or the bicycle goes, right? So, for goodness sakes, let's look at something other than that.
Yeah, that's right.
And by the way, the other thing Google announced is they're going to do these glasses. Of course, Meta's Ray-Bans have been very successful. Google.
I'm wearing them now.
Are you?
Oh yeah.
I didn't even notice.
You
Are you taking pictures of me?
I just took your picture.
Oh, gosh.
You have no privacy, Leo.
Dang you. Now I have to, in defense, wear my Meta Ray-Bans.
Right. Ooh, can they talk to each other?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Yeah. Somebody said that they were able to modify this in some way that it could talk to their Hermes agent, which I would be very much happier talking to that than talking to Meta.
Well, these things drive me crazy. They keep talking at me when I don't want them talking.
They talk all the time. I know. They're very gabby.
I know. I turn them off a lot.
Larry, what is the ostensible purpose for having them? Why?
Well, believe it or not, they have just launched in beta something called Conversation Focus. And it actually works better than Apple AirPods and kind of better than my hearing aids. Because if I'm in a restaurant and I'm talking to you, your voice is going to be a pitch higher, and the voices around me are going to be a little bit lower.
So you're using them as a hearing aid?
Kind of, just in very specific situations, like in restaurants. Beyond that,
do you have your prescription lenses in there? So these are these are your
Not only
spectacles.
That, I bought Gen 1 with my prescription lenses, and then these are Gen 2. They popped the lenses out and popped them right back in.
So this is what you wear as these are your glasses now. This isn't some accessory.
The problem is because I always have to carry my case and my other glasses.
Yeah, because there's not enough battery.
They need to be recharged every few hours.
Yeah.
They claim 8 hours. You get about 5 or 6.
Right.
So if you use them,
you're all in on this. I didn't know that, Larry.
I use them as headphones. I talk to people.
They sound good.
Yeah, if I get a phone call, I click on it. And
were you intrigued by the glasses Google is talking about? Their Android XR glasses. They'll come from Warby Parker and Gentle Monster and Samsung.
Which is clever to work with Warby Parker. I like that idea.
Because right now Meta works with EssilorLuxottica, so it's another giant monopoly.
And Apple is rumored to be coming out with some glasses. We'll see what they come out with.
Mark Gurman today in his Power On newsletter, he's of course the Apple guru of rumors, says that when Apple's WWDC announcement is June 8th, it's just 2 weeks away, they will really show something with AirPods and cameras in the AirPods.
Yeah, weird.
That are they're tying it initially to accessibility. Blind people will have these cameras and they can say what it is they're looking at and so forth. Good. But ultimately, I think it's a similar plan that you're going to see the world through these tech giants' lenses. That's the point.
By the way, at WWDC, there's going to be a slide with Connect Safely on it because we are their provider of internet safety content. And they're finally going to talk about it in public, which is
That's
nice.
Fantastic. They think they only are because they have to.
Yeah, well, hey, I'll take it. good PR for us.
No, that's great. That's wonderful. I'll look for that.
So this reminds me of Doctorow's book, Radicalized, right? Where that one of the characters has a subscription toaster oven. Is that what it is? And she starts thinking subversive thoughts,
that's right.
and including, I'd like to change the settings on my toaster.
Shocking.
Yeah, it makes
How
for
dare
quite
she?
a dramatic Cory
This is the
Doctorow,
thing, man.
but-
I mean, you look at where this technology goes in other cultures and in other sort of, I mean, I would argue just a little further down the road in terms of the market. And that's, in China, they're telling you, they're deciding whether you're considered on duty and getting paid at work or not based on how focused your device tells the boss you are.
Well, Amazon does that in their trucks already, right?
Totally, right? And in this case, won't pay you for the time that you are goofing off by thinking about other things than your task, right?
We had this story. I don't know if it's true. A couple of years ago, that the cameras in Amazon's delivery trucks notice if you're singing and will dock you. I don't know if that doesn't sound true.
Stop being joyous, human.
You're having too much fun.
Leo, how about that story on the list about the bipartisan discussion about banning flock video cameras?
Right. Which is good, right?
Yeah. Both,
so this is, okay,
right-wingers-
so we've talked about it's really dystopian future. But I don't feel like the future is going to be that bleak. I don't think these tech giants are going to win. I don't know. There's very little evidence for my belief.
If they haven't won, what is this? I'm not sure, but okay. Keep going.
Bear with me here, because I think there is definitely a techlash. That's what that vote is about, flock. People, you would think the government especially would want these automated license plate readers everywhere. It helps fight crime. And we've seen dramatic evidence that it's actually really useful in cases of abduction and criminals. But people are starting to realize it also impairs privacy. And we have some constitutional protections that it, you don't have protections on the street. Your license plate is public, but people kind of are cringing about that. I also think that the widespread use of AI is putting powerful tools in individuals' hands.
So I went to a demonstration at Berkeley last week. I went to many demonstrations at Berkeley in the 60s when I went there. But actually 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was an anti-social media, anti-AI demonstration.
There's a backlash.
And it was really about, we don't want these big tech companies running our lives. We want autonomy. We want agency. And these young Berkeley students were out there complaining about social media.
Those are the same students booing the commencement speakers who mentioned AI.
That's my favorite story of all time. I love that story from this week of everybody getting booed.
Yeah, Eric Schmidt and other commencement speakers who walk in thinking, I'm going to talk about the future, which is going to be very exciting for these young graduates, how they're going into this world with AI, and being shocked, I tell you, that the graduates are going, boo! There's a disconnect, very much a disconnect.
So the Luddites didn't hate looms, right? They hated the power dynamics and the business model that led to looms putting them out of work. If they had been like worker-owned looms, then there'd be a place for them.
Or looms that increased their productivity and allowed them to make more money and have more satisfaction over their jobs. They would have loved it. And that's how I look at AI. AI is great for me. It does nothing but good things for me. It makes me more productive, less reliant on other people. But on the other hand, I'm in a different position than people who are just starting their careers.
I mean, if you work at Meta right now, right, you're part of this token Olympics that everybody's signed up for, where they're judged on how many tokens they consume, right? Like, I know people at Amazon who say people are getting laid off on the basis of whether or not they're using it enough. That is literally.
I think that actually is backfiring on these companies.
Oh yeah,
insane.
It's like measuring lines of code. It isn't exactly the best way
measure
to
what they're accomplishing. How are they helping the company, not how they go about doing it.
Well, and also, I mean, so guys, like tomorrow, right, the Pope, this is me jumping to a new topic here, but the Pope is coming out with this AI encyclical. Do you know about this?
Yes.
Right? So the Pope Leo the 14th is talking about it turns out
on the anniversary of Leo the 13th encyclical.
Right. It's so cool. So he I had no idea what a kind of like AI critic he is and how long he's been thinking about this. So he took his name, his papal name, from the last Leo because of, as you say, Leo, your maybe your namesake too.
I was not named after that pope.
After that pope, okay. Well, there are worse popes to be named after because
my dad was a lapsed Catholic. He hated it. He would never have named me after a pope. I can tell you right now. So what's so cool
about so the last guy was in 1891 put out this thing, Rerum Novarum, this encyclical, this moral teaching that basically said industrial capitalism, exactly what you're talking about, Marshall, this being stuck at the loom is a nightmare and what he was specifically warning about in that one is that industrial capitalism was going to change the value of human beings to a calculation of how much they can produce. Whereas what Catholic teaching supposedly says is that, what is it? Imago Dei, right? You're made in the image of God, and that is your value. Being human is your value inherently. And they were saying, don't let it become transactional, which is what they were seeing in these factories. Now, Leo the 14th, on the 135th anniversary to the day, signed the new one, which is all about AI. And when he was announcing why he was going to call himself Leo in honor of this past one, he said specifically because he'd made this big social teaching around work, and we are about to do the exact same thing with AI because it's such a problem. That the human worth thing. What is a human worth is really what this whole thing is going to.
I still think what's interesting though is that Pope Leo isn't anti-AI. And I think we all here are using AI and find it useful and find it empowering. There's this weird disconnect. I think Leo doesn't hate AI. He's very interested in AI and how it can be used.
He doesn't like it being used in Gaza. He doesn't like it being used. It's right. Those things that he's talking about. And what I'm really hoping from tomorrow is that it's not just kind of the open vagaries of like,
I don't think it will
watch out, but specifically names. Yeah. Don't use it for this. Don't use it for that. Here are the traps we fall into the past. So I think you're right, Leo. Like he doesn't want to like go back to the past the way the last Leo did. But I think he is trying very specifically to call out a thing because he can see that the nation states are not doing it. That governments are not.
Especially our government.
Especially our government. That's right.
Let's take a break before we do. I have to take a break, but I do want to show this cartoon from the New Yorker, Joe Dater and Kevin Maher. And the caption goes, and as you head out into the world, your fresh, meaty torsos will be ripped apart and roasted to feed your new alien overlords. Wait, why are you all booing? Very apt, very apropos cartoon from the New Yorker. Actually, there's another one in the New Yorker this week that's a kind of similar. It's a bumper sticker, and it says, what does it say? My honor student. Let me show you this one. It's a bumper sticker on a car. It says, my honor student is very worried about AI. And yet, we love it. I talk about it all the time. We have a show dedicated to it. I use it daily. I have a very active agent that I'm using that is super useful to me.
We're going to talk about my medical use of it, I think.
When we come back, let's do that. And of course, Marshall's created something that is a fantastic way to empower an end user to be more informed about the web pages she's reading. We're not against it. We just don't want the big guys. And actually, that's why I'm very excited that DeepSeek, which I know is the Chinese AI, but they've announced very cheap pricing, and I actually put my agent on DeepSeek 4 Pro, and it's really good, and it's super cheap, which means I'm falling for it. I also, last week, Harper Reed came on, and he said, you should buy this little device. It is an AI device you put on your desk. It's connect. He says, you just connect it to your Wi-Fi, and it calls China, and then DeepSeek is talking to me.
Oh, that's great, Leo. So everything you
what could possibly go wrong?
Well, so last week Harper said, right, that the Chinese models have basically won everywhere in the world outside of the United States.
That's right.
Yeah, they're really good and they're really cheap, and I wonder why they're so cheap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why. And everything you say and do now is going to be in Beijing.
It says, that's a dangerous combination. It actually is agreeing with you, by the way, Larry. I just want you to know.
Yeah, that's how they get you started. You know?
Rosie the cat might get jealous, though.
It knows about my cat. Now, I don't know how it knows about my cat and that her name is Rosie. That should be terrifying. And yet...
memory for the important things in life. Like cats named Rosie. She's a special one, isn't she? Does she like to sit on your desk while you're working, or does she prefer to supervise from a distance?
Cox Media would like to purchase some of those, right?
I'm sending all of this to China, my friends.
I wore a bee for a while, and I took it off. This is the thing.
I was big into the bee.
Yeah, and it creeped me out after a while. You know, I wore it for about a week, and then I said, no, I don't. My life doesn't need to be in the cloud, not my entire life.
My thinking behind all this was that at some point I'm going to want an agent, especially as I age, that knows everything there is to know about me and can remember stuff for me and can connect me to the world and be a assistant. And so
we'll talk about ChatGPT knows a lot about me, and I'm glad it does because it helps me.
Apparently, so does this, which is a little scary. I don't remember telling it my cat's name.
Who do you
Rosie.
try? China or Altman? Who
well, that's the real question, right?
Yeah.
Claude told me a few weeks ago when I asked it a question, it said, well, I'm not a therapist, but you have shared enough notes from therapy with me that I can tell you that your problem is perfectly clear.
What is your problem?
What's up with that?
What's up with that? I actually keep a daily journal in Obsidian, and for the longest time I thought, what am I keeping this for? My kids don't care, and what am I going to read this in 20 years? And now I realize I'm keeping it for my AI, and I have it read that every day, and it adds to its memory. And the whole idea is to get this thing smarter and more attuned to me, so that it can be a personal assistant.
The only thing I haven't given my AI is my tax return, simply because I don't want my social security number to be on the internet. But other than that, I would feed it my tax return too.
Yeah. I give it all my health stuff. You did too. We're going to talk about
all my health information.
Yeah, just a little
bit. It knows more about me than any doctor does.
I gotta shut this.
Good chat about smart home tech. What kind of house stuff are you thinking about?
See, it really wants to know.
It drives me crazy. Why does it have to
drown
ask
that thing, Leo?
It's
I'll have some fun ideas we could explore together.
Into the bathtub. Drop it in your coffee.
It's evil.
Yep.
I'll ask Alexa Plus what the weather is, and it wants to know what my plans are. Just tell me the damn weather.
What are you up to? Where are you going?
What do you want to do?
Weather. You don't need to know what I'm going to do today.
Can I help you buy something?
Yeah, really.
Exactly. Would you consider an upgrade to those plans?
You need an umbrella. Here, I'll have one delivered in 15 minutes.
We will have more with Larry Magid, Marshall Kirkpatrick, and our good friend Jacob Ward in just a little bit. You're watching This Week in Tech, and the show brought to you by Meter, the company building better networks. All of this stuff relies on the network, right? And if you're in a business, you know that the network is vital to operations. And no one knows that better than you network engineers, right? And if you're a network engineer, man, you've got my deepest sympathy. You know the headaches. Legacy providers with inflexible pricing, IT resource constraints stretching you thin, complex deployments across fragmented tools. You, network engineer, are mission critical to the business, but you're working with infrastructure that just wasn't built for today's demands. This stuff moves fast. Well, let me tell you about Meter, a company started by two network engineers who feel your pain and knew there was only one way to make this better. Meter delivers full stack networking. They do it all. The infrastructure is wired, wireless, and cellular. It's built for performance and scalability. And here's the key insight they had. If we're going to make a network that works, we've got to design the hardware. We've got to write the firmware. We've got to build the software. We got to manage the deployments. We have to provide after-sales support. We have to do it all. And they even they'll help you with ISP procurement, because it all starts with who's providing the connectivity, right? They'll work with you. They'll help design security, routing, switching, wireless setups, firewalls, cellular. You know what's really important? Power, right? They'll help you with that too. They do it all. DNS security, VPN, SD-WAN. They specialize in multi-site workflows. I was talking to them when they first joined the the show, and I asked him about, what are the most challenging situations. They said we have many clients. This happens all the time. It's a company acquires another company. They acquire their branch office, their field office. They acquire their warehouse. Suddenly they got a 150,000 square foot facility with wireless that doesn't work on a system that is incompatible with a home office system. They can fix it. Meter's single integrated network stack is everywhere, from major hospitals to branch offices, warehouses, large campuses. They do data centers. They do Reddit's data center. I mean, if you want the best hardware, software, if you want one number to call, you need Meter. Ask the assistant director of technology for the Web School of Knoxville. This is the quote. We had more than 20 games on our campus between our two facilities. Each game was streamed via wired and wireless connections, and the event went off without a hitch. We could never have done this before Meter redesigned our network. Go to the website, meter.com/twit. I mean, you will see what I mean. When Corey was on the show a couple of months ago, he said, "Oh, this is nice. Look at this gear. You really get excited. With Meter, you get a single partner for all your connectivity needs, from first site survey to ongoing support, without the complexity of managing multiple providers or tools. Like I said, one number to call. Meter's integrated networking stack is designed to take the burden off of your IT team and give you deep control and visibility, reimagining what it means for businesses to get and stay online. Meter, built for the bandwidth demands of today and tomorrow. We thank them so much for sponsoring. Go to meter.com/twit to book a demo. You should do that right now. meter.com/twit to book a demo. They feel your pain. They've been there, and they can help. Meter. So, Larry, you had a little medical emergency when you were back in New York. This was recently, right? Yeah,
actually, I've been in New York twice in the last week, but the first trip to New York, I guess about 10 days ago, I was there for some meetings, and on Monday, I started getting a pain in my intestines, and I kind of, didn't take it too seriously until Tuesday morning. The pain was still there, so I walked from 37th Street down to Greenwich Village because my friend said the Greenwich Village emergency room was really good. Went in there, they took a CT scan, and they sent me by ambulance to Lenox Hills Hospital.
Holy cow. That's a little scary.
87th Street. And while I was in the hospital, they kept taking blood and doing stuff. And by the time the phlebotomist left my room, practically, I would get a notice on my app telling me my blood results long before the doctor saw it. And that's things people are used to. But what was really fascinating to me is when I got home and I logged in, I looked at it more carefully. Not only did they show the radiology report of my CT scan. By the way, I'm fine. I just sat there for 2 days with an IV in my arm, and it went away on its own. But point is that when I got home, I looked at the scan, the actual X-ray or the CT scan. I can't read a CT scan. It means nothing to me, as it does, it turns out, to many doctors who aren't trained as radiologists. So I ran that into ChatGPT. It gave me a report which was very close to what the radiologist reported. Then I fed the radiologist report into ChatGPT, and it gave me an even more detailed report. And then I said, take that scan and give me a new image where you circle where the blockage is.
Wow.
And give me any other significant findings. I want them annotated and I want them circled. It turns out, and this is true, I actually knew this, that because of a previous surgery, I have some scar tissue. It showed me visually that the blockage was right below the scar tissue. It showed me the part of my intestines that was dilated, the bowel loop that was dilated. I had a complete map of what was going on inside my body, which far exceeded anything a doctor has ever told me. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. I took this to my gastroenterologist after I got home. I showed it to him. He was amazed. He admitted that he doesn't know how to read CT scans. And he was incredibly impressed. He said, yeah, it's exactly what I can see from all your various reports. So take it for what it's worth, but Dr. ChatGPT did a heck of a good job explaining to me what was going on in my body. By the way, I could share the image with you, but the one thing it's too much information to look inside my intestines. But you just have to take my word.
Okay, so This is what's really interesting about all of this is we can all tell stories somewhat similar. Actually, my next project, I at one point had my full genome done by Nebula Genomics. It was like $1,500. It's cheaper now, but it was like it's not like the little sample that they do with 23andMe. This is like the full genome. And I have it. It's a couple of gigabytes. It's a big file. I want to give it to the AI. I want to feed it my current health situation, everything I know, and have it kind of keep track of stuff. And I've heard of people doing this. And yet, and I've heard of people saying, like you, Larry, wow, this was amazing. And yet,
and
yet, here's a story from Nature about a made-up disease called Bixonomania.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually, unfortunately, I can't read this Nature article, but I have read it. This was actually created by a scientist, a fake illness, to test AI's willingness to kind of make up stuff. Almira Osmanovic Sundström, a researcher at the University of Gothenburg in Sweden, invented Bixonomania, a totally made-up disease, put it out in the world in a way that AI would absorb it, and then watched as it spread.
Wow.
And in fact, you may well, if you feed your health information to your AI, be told you're suffering from Bixonomania. Blogs picked it up. Preprints picked it up. It showed up in scientific journals, apparently using AI. She created a non-existent university in a non-existent city, and scientists from that university with made-up names like Lazarevich Globinevich, which if you put the name into Google Translate says the lying loser. Even the title, she did not try to hide this. The title of the journal paper was Hyperpigmentation, a Real BS Design. Like the whole thing there was no attempt to disguise the fact that it was a hoax.
Yeah.
Yet AI had no idea. And the AI models picked it up, and it has now spread. And this is an issue because...
Yeah. Well, so in my case, whenever I get medical advice from AI, I always say, cite your source. And I go to that source, and it has to be a source that I know and trust. If it's the Mayo Clinic, if it's the NHS in the UK, if it's Cleveland Clinic, I'm going to take it seriously. But I'm still not going to act on it. I'm not going to take a pill. I'm not going to submit to a procedure until I talk to a doctor. And so to me, it's the first draft of your medical information. It is by no means the final word. And
that's what people, I have to say, to be fair, people said the same thing about Wikipedia and said you shouldn't really trust it. Because there are mistakes in there.
I agree. Yeah.
But there's feedback loops on Wikipedia in other people. And in this case, it seems to me, based on a quick scan of that article, that the preprint servers were the primary entry point.
Right.
And
those are not peer reviewed.
No, it's like somebody turned off the peer review system. Similar to that other story about the government contractor that just turned off the warnings about API keys and passwords saved in a CSV file. And so suddenly all these government AWS accounts were exposed. And then it still took 48 hours after they had been reported that the credentials were usable. So I think people need to learn to not turn off the warning system.
Right.
And
did she publish this fake article on a reputable academic website?
No, it went through preprint servers, which are great. They're so fast, so easy. You can search,
like archive.org.
So much amazing stuff out there, stuff like that. Yeah. But buyer beware.
Now, I just asked, I have to say, I'm very impressed. I just asked DeepSeek via my agent, Hermes, what do you know about Bixonomania? And it said, a brilliant hoax. And perfectly on brand for an intelligent machines discussion, researchers at the University of Gothenburg invented a completely fake eye condition in 2024, loaded it with absurdities no human would miss, and watched AI chatbots confidently tell people it was real. The symptoms were sore eyes and dark circles from blue light. The name ends in mania, which is, of course, a psychiatric disorder, not an eye condition. The university, Asteria Horizon University in Nova City, California, was completely made up. There was a Star Trek reference in the paper acknowledging Professor Maria Bohm at Starfleet Academy aboard the USS Enterprise. This was in the paper. By 2026, Microsoft Copilot was calling it, quote, an intriguing and relatively rare condition. Gemini said it was caused by excessive exposure to blue light. And this is the sad thing, in an actual peer-reviewed paper in Springer Nature's Curious Journal, they cited the hoax preprints, all of which have since been retracted.
Okay.
The Nature expose forced model corrections, and that's why my model apparently knows about it. It's basically the AI era version, it says, of a Mount Weasel, those trap street entries cartographers use to catch map plagiarists. Wow, that's pretty deep.
Does Robert F. Kennedy know about this disease?
Probably. It's just a matter of time.
So the truth has got its pants on now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It does. It took it a while.
So here's what I feel like there's two things that we're talking about here, right? There's the tendency of it to be wrong if you game it right, and our tendency to believe it, right? Which is one problem.
Two different, yes.
That's a problem, a big bucket of problem. But the other problem is one, Larry, that I feel like is a really, like what I really want is for every patient to have your experience where they've got professional help, they've got people they can call, they've got referrals happening quick enough to deal with their medical issues, and they've got the benefit of this second opinion, this digital second opinion that helps decode the process. As a package, awesome. Yeah. The problem is the market doesn't like that. What the market wants is to knock all the other things out and leave only the digital thing because it is the cheapest thing to use. And this is why, like, Michigan right now is experimenting with, like, just determining whether your SNAP benefits come to you based on an AI system.
See,
and
that's
basically
really bad.
Doing away with the people you could ever call when you have a problem, right? They're so quick to get rid of the experts on the human layer because that's the most expensive layer. Because the whole promise of the market of AI is that you don't need that stuff. And so for my mind, it's the immediate use that you're describing in this moment. Awesome. And I'm so excited about it. But as soon as they commoditize that and begin to believe, like, well, 1 in 10,000 people won't have a good experience, but everybody else is going to have a good experience. So we're going to knock out, the 800 number. You'll never have that again. Yeah. That's where I
am grateful for the radiologist. I'm grateful for the surgeons. I'm grateful for my gastroenterologist. I'm really grateful for Medicare for paying for all of this. And my big fear is that the government may very well not want to do that in the future if they can do it cheaply without having to pay these expensive doctors to review this stuff.
Dr. Oz already has made some kind of automated, there's some sort of weird automated system. I got to look back I wrote a piece for Hard Reset Media. It's called hardresetmedia.com about how Oz has put in some kind of automated system where things that would normally be pre-approved under Medicare suddenly get spiked automatically. And the real problem is that the company that makes that technology is incentivized. They're paid a bonus the more times they reject a claim, right?
Which is scary.
And that's where the wheels start to come off.
And it's even, it's funny, people worry about the future of Medicare. You're talking about the present of Medicare. People my age who are already getting the benefits at risk.
And the corporations capture the benefits and socialize the costs and risks.
That's right. And as many a great leader has pointed out, you don't get to make money off sick people, really. You don't get to make money off of solving education, really. Like, that's what government's for, And the idea that we're going to somehow, like, get the Silicon Valley efficiency in everything is
look at Doge. Look at that did for us.
Yeah, right, exactly. We've seen it. We've seen it. That's right.
That really helped.
And yet, according to the AMA, 2 out of 3 physicians are using AI, which has almost doubled since 2023. They surveyed 1,200 doctors, and 2/3 of them are doing what you did, Larry.
I actually have given my doctor medical advice. No, I have told him things that he did not know about, and he went off and read about it. Said, "Oh, Larry, that thing you were telling me about, I hadn't heard that. It's actually pretty good information."
I had my annual physical on Friday, and I have spent quite a long time talking to my doctor about the use of AI. He's very interested. But the point here is, here's somebody who has judgment, skill, experience, and practice, who can take the information the AI gives them and vet it and make sense of it. And it's a very good partnership. And I think that this is what we see over and over again. The humans plus AI are the right answer, not
even
AI.
Better,
alone.
2 AIs and an expert.
Let the AIs fight.
Plus a subject matter expert.
I always start with ChatGPT, and then I run it through Gemini. And the reason is Gemini is less likely to sugarcoat it.
Right.
So if you have a medical issue, ChatGPT tends to kind of it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. Whereas Gemini will tell you much more straight about what's going on. So it does pay to get a second opinion, even from different models. Now, if you were talking about, one of you were talking about, if they start homogenizing, then I worry about
That's not good. You want them to be at odds a little bit.
It's similar. I actually had an experience once where I asked, I use Stanford Healthcare, and I asked 2 different doctors at Stanford Healthcare. I went to a second opinion. And the problem is they both have access to each other's notes. So the second doctor gave me exactly the same opinion. Now, maybe the opinion was right, but I wanted somebody who didn't know what the first doctor had to say. And I the same thing is with AI. I want the AI to independently give me information so I can compare the different reports.
I should also point out that sometimes we conflate what the model is doing with what its post-training is doing. And it's really important to remember that a great deal of your experience with the AI is not coming from the stuff in the LLM and the weights in the LLM, but the stuff that happened afterwards, the reinforcement learning, the so-called soul document, the personality that these companies apply to it. These companies see this as differentiators, but they very much put their thumbs on the scale. Anthropic, OpenAI, DeepSeek, Google, everybody very much modifies that AI and modifies the weights. And that could also be a source of a lot of the problems.
But it also may be why Gemini is a little less sugarcoating.
That's totally why it's different.
But what I like, one of the things I do
because really the training material for all of them is pretty much the same, right?
Yeah. But one thing, and I think it's good, is ChatGPT, my entire medical history, when I tell it something, it'll say, well, given your age and given this and that, it knows all the medications I take. If I'm thinking about a new medication, I just say, is it okay for me to take this? And it says, yeah, it won't interact with this. Or, yeah, you better worry because it might interact with that. So
it's funny. I showed my doctor. I said, "Look, these are all the supplements I take. This is what the AI said about them. It told me you got too much calcium. Get rid." He said, "Yeah, because of kidney stones." I said, "Yeah." So I asked him. I said, "This is what it's telling me. What do you think?" And he was okay. I think he preferred at least some information to no information, right?
Yeah. So you showed your work. And I feel like there's a segue here available to Jacob's Substack post that's listed as his most popular post on Substack about how AI is getting us to lie to ourselves. Where
Marshall, you're so sweet. Thanks, man.
Yeah. So Jacob wrote this post.
Actually, hold the thought. Let's save it because I want to do an ad, and then I do want to talk about this because it was a great piece.
Oh, I appreciate it, guys.
And I think I'm glad you brought it up, Marshall, but hang on. Great panel, great conversation. Larry Magid is here, connectsafely.org. He's representing the radio newsman segment of the audience. How many years in radio, though? I've been in radio 50 years.
You got me beat. 25 years with CBS, and I did a little bit of stuff with All Things Considered at NPR, and I was a regular guest.
What did you do before that?
I was a regular guest on the Ron Owens show on KGO for a while.
Yep, me too.
And also Michael Jackson on KABC. But, I professionally paid about 25 years with actually getting paid for it.
Yeah, I got into radio in college, and I never left.
Oh, I did that too, but I'm not counting that. But yeah.
Oh, I'm counting it. When
College radio is great. I love college.
The clock started ticking when I got my FCC license, which you don't need anymore.
You don't need you don't need no stinking license. You know, it's funny when I applied to be a DJ on the college radio station, and the music guys didn't want me at all. They sent me over to the news department. I was kind of mad about it. You make me do news. And
I remember my first rip and read newscast. I was shaking like a leaf, holding the paper that I'd ripped off the teletype machine.
my college radio station, you could only hear it in the dorms through the electrical system at UCLA. They broadcast through the power. I don't know how they did it. But,
yeah. A lot of college radio is that way. Marshall Kirkpatrick is also here. His incredible app, What's Up With That, is available for your browser, Firefox or Chrome. And it really is a great way of kind of getting some deep knowledge about the pages you're visiting. Very, very useful.
Thanks,
Good to have you, Marshall. You say you like shortwave radio better.
Yeah, if we're going to talk radio, I just want to put in a plug for Dan. What's Dan's name? A guy out in the Redwoods who for years has been doing the Global Shortwave Report, collecting English language news coverage from around the world. Radio Havana, Radio Deutschland, Radio Japan, and weaving them together into this great show of shortwave news. Real old-fashioned style, but he's still pumping it out.
Do you have to listen? It's Dan Roberts of Willits, up in Willits. Do you have to listen on shortwave? Can you?
Oh no, there's MP3 files. It's a podcast.
I love it. 30-minute review of news stories. Oh, I'm recorded from a shortwave radio. Are they actual recordings?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's just okay. Can I play just a little bit of it? Does it go?
Welcome to the shortwave report.
So
the relation.
Italian. She demanded an apology. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez also denounced Ben-Gvir's handling of the matter.
I had a shortwave radio as a kid, and I would tune up and down the dial. It was so cool, and you'd get Russian, and then many of the I wonder if it's the same. I guess it is. Many of these shortwave country-run shortwave stations would have English language broadcasts, so you could hear the Russian radio in English.
Yeah, but now they're streaming.
Now I'm subscribing to this right now. It's Outfar Press, the shortwave report from Outfar Press. Is it .com? Yep, .com. And he sounds like he's kind of a little far out, to be honest with you.
He's been broadcasting off the electric grid in Willits, California for probably 30 plus years.
God bless him. That's like who's the guy who did the late night show? He used to live in his double wide.
Oh yeah,
in Pahrump, Nevada.
Not Art Bell.
Art Bell. He would do his overnight radio show. It would be over, and then he'd go out to his ham shack and do another 3 hours.
I learned about those two shows from the same old friend.
That's how you know a guy loves radio. You can't get enough of it.
But he had a lot of conspiracy stuff too.
He was the UFO guy. It was great. And it was great for the middle of the night because you'd hear the craziest, Bigfoot stories.
I loved AM radio in the middle of the night. I love listening to faraway stations on AM.
I still fantasize in my retirement of just turning on the transmitter and sitting here at 3 a.m. just talking. Taking calls with the crazies. Jacob Ward's also. Do you have any radio background, Jacob? You have a big on-air sign.
I don't.
You've always been TV. You're a TV guy.
Yeah, I've always done TV. I do. I have a podcast. I mean, my podcast is there. But yeah, I would have loved to be. I always feel like I was born 10 years too late for everything. So yeah, I wish I'd been part of the heyday of radio.
You're better looking than the rest of us.
He's got a face for TV. You and I, Larry.
We have
faces for radio.
Even though we've both done TV, but
yeah. So I loved that. I love that medium. I think it's the best.
Oh yeah. Well, this is really what we're doing is radio. We have video, right. But it's radio. Still the majority of people who listen to our shows listen, not watch. Even though we've always had
video. Go for a walk. You can drive a car. You don't have to. We do a screen.
Do the dishes. Walk the dog. Yeah. We'll have more in just a bit. The show today brought to you by Box. This is a really good example of a company that's been around, done great stuff. I've used them for years, and they have decided to use AI in intelligent ways, and I love it. Box is the leading intelligent content management platform for enterprises. This is a deep insight. The key to unlocking the power of AI, it's not about the LLM, it's not about the agent. It's about the content. More specifically, it's about your content. Because your business isn't really the sum of, internet knowledge. Your business, it lives in your content, the stuff that's specific to your business. Now, it's clear AI isn't some far-off idea anymore. It's tangible, dynamic innovation that's here to stay. It's already having a profound impact on the world and on business. But Box had this great insight. We store your content. Your content's what the AI needs to really be truly intelligent. Box's mission is to power how the world works together, making it easy to access information from anywhere and collaborate with anyone. And they've done a great job. Box serves more than 97,000 companies. 68% of the Fortune 500 use Box. Unfortunately, a lot of companies, I think these days, are underestimating AI's transformative potential rather than reimagining their operations. They're just, bolting AI onto existing processes, which means they're capturing some gains, but they're, modest productivity gains. And they're really missing the opportunity for fundamental business transformation. Becoming an AI-first company isn't just about automating what you already do. It's about reimagining what's possible. And with Box AI, businesses can truly leverage the latest breakthroughs in AI to automate document processing and workflows, to extract insight from your own content, to build custom AI agents to work on assignments and more. And this is the thing I love the best. Box AI works with all the major leading AI model providers. You're not locked in. You can use OpenAI, you can use Anthropic, Google, XAI, and more. So you can always be sure you're able to use the latest AI models with your content without the lock-in. Now, here, just as an example, are some of the things businesses are doing with Box AI. They're using Box AI to extract key metadata fields from contracts, from invoices, financial documents, and resumes, and more to query and automate workflows. They're using Box AI to ask questions of any type of content, like sales presentations, long research reports, and more. You could do it for one file or thousands of files at the same time. You can also leverage Box AI's API to integrate into your application stack for any document processing and data extraction. Box AI handles the vector embeddings, retrieval augmented generation, RAG, and agent customization, all within its platform. And you can do all this is important, while maintaining the highest levels of security, compliance, and data governance that over 115,000 enterprises trust. Look, you need a content layer that gives AI the context it needs while giving your teams the flexibility they need to test and leverage various models for different use cases. And this is the place to do it. Visit box.com/AI to learn more. Box.com/AI. Because your content is the base, the material that your AI needs to do everything. Box.com/AI. We thank him so much for supporting This Week in Tech. The Rip Current is your newsletter.
It is.
And what do you cover in Rip Current?
So the tagline I use is that it's about the invisible forces that are shaping our lives. And so that's everything from the stuff that we've been talking about so far. A lot of it is AI, some social media stuff. But I also think about human circuitry, so addiction, bias. There's a lot of sort of the Venn diagram of me, and sort of psychology and tech is a big part of it. So how tech sort of changes our world, changes human behavior. And so, yeah, Marshall, God, I'm so grateful to you for mentioning this. Yeah, this is one of those pieces. I think there's a written version and me.
I like it. You do the video as well, which is nice, and audio if you want to listen. AI has us lying to one another. What do you mean by that?
So I don't know about you guys, but like I keep being in the weird position of, and I'm rather than blaming other people, I'll just do it myself. Like I'll say words like, I have made a thing, I just was I just threw this together for our meeting. There's something in the way that I think about and talk about my use of AI that is not fundamentally honest. And I've noticed it in a lot of people around me. And I think there's something about both the sort of the way it's built, in that it's always sort of, it's like you're always ready, intern who's there kind of helping you get it done quick before you have to go on stage, kind of vibe. That creates this impression that you somehow have to keep your use of it to yourself, kind of. And we haven't come up as a society.
It's our dirty little secret, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it's so interesting because we have some, I talk to some people whose workplaces you get fired for not using it enough.
Right.
There are other people I talk to where you get fired if you used it.
I sometimes am a little squirmy about admitting how much I'm using AI. Then I think it's important that I say that I do admit it.
And so we don't have good shorthand language about it. And I think there's something also in the marketing that these companies are creating for us, this idea that you're going to sort of get away with it. Here's an embarrassing story. Let me tell you, this is an embarrassing story. So I used a service for about 3 or 4 months that basically took created an AI derived email and put it out to 1 million podcasts for me to try and get booked on podcasts. And
it worked. See, you're here.
Well, you and me came together the old-fashioned way. Thank God.
Okay.
Thank God. Well, it's great too because I wound up on a lot of weird podcasts. It was great. I just had such a great weird tour of everybody and their mother who's got a mic in a basement. It is great. It's crazy how many podcasts there are.
It's an interesting community, isn't it?
Yeah, I was on dozens and dozens and dozens of podcasts, and some of them were great. Some of them were less great. One crew wanted to talk about aliens. There's just some weird stuff going on, but. The thing that was so dishonest about it is that the AI service sends an email as if it's from me, right? Saying, and one of the things it does, and if you're in media, you'll know this, it'll say, Jake, I just listened to the most recent episode of The Rip Current. I can't stop thinking about this specific thing in your thing. And the first couple times that I received an email like that, I was like, wow, this guy's listened to my show. Amazing, And
I immediately, when I see those, I stop.
Now right? Now you know.
Fake.
But for that 2 or 3 weeks, it worked. And I was part of that 2 or 3 weeks and I tricked, I think, a bunch of podcast hosts into getting me on.
Because we love being praised. We love it if somebody listens to our show.
Yes.
It works.
And then I after the first couple of appearances, I began adopting the policy of telling people listen, you guys, I got booked on here because of AI. And that's ridiculous because I'm on here flogging my thesis, which is that this is going to ruin our lives, So it was deeply hypocritical. But I that kind of thing where it's like getting dressed up as if it's our work is a fundamentally dishonest proposition that I think is happening a lot right now. And we're and what I really want is for young people who are actually in charge of culture to come up with the cool way of saying, oh, I AI'd this. I made this, through this system. I didn't really write this, You know
what young people have done, and I know this because we have a young person on our AI show, Paris Martineau. I know you know her. And she's taught me all of these things. They have many words for this. They call it glazing when the AI is sycophantic and tells you things you want to hear. They call the AIs clankers.
Yeah, clanker is my favorite. That's my favorite.
They talk a lot about slop. That's actually gotten into the mainstream now, AI slop. And they have a lot of negative.
They've got the good negative language. We need a way for the two of us to say, I agented this, or you know what I mean? I'm not the right guy for this
I have a
job.
question though, because this is personal, and I focus on this a lot. So I will use AI as kind of a copy editor. Maybe change a word here first of all, make sure the grammar and the spelling and the punctuation is correct. I don't have any qualms about that. But once in a while, it'll suggest a minor word changing. And I don't know whether I need to disclose that. It's less than a human copy editor would do.
No. Exactly. You filed stories at the Mercury News where a copy editor rephrases it.
Back in the day when they had copy editors,
Right. No, they don't anymore, but okay.
You're absolutely. But then, or once in a while, I'll have a paragraph that I'm struggling with, and I'll say, "Is there a better way to phrase this?" And then I don't know. It's a slippery slope, but I don't know where the line is between using it kind of as a Grammarly type product versus using it to generate content. And I mean, I would never say, write me a column, even though it would, and it might not be bad. I would never do it because I'm getting paid for this stuff. And it would just feel dishonest to take money for something I didn't do. But, where is the line?
I actually think that there's not to be one of those people that says I read your most recent article, Jacob, but I read your most popular article on there, and the thing that stood out to me about that was the discussion of effectively the Trojan horse situation there, where you were trying to figure out how to grow your Substack, and you asked ChatGPT, give me some tips for how to grow my Substack, and it was saying like, well, do this, do that. If it bleeds, it leads. If people are mad at you and post angry comments, that's better than nothing. And you found yourself thinking, yeah, that's right, that's better than nothing. And then you said, hold on a second, I'm a journalist with journalistic ethics. I don't want to just traffic and outrage for its own sake. Whoa, I almost thought that was my own thought for a moment.
Right, exactly. And
then I came up with this.
Exactly.
And that seems really nefarious.
Cut to a couple of weeks, and I'm sure I could have been like, what I think? I think when it bleeds, it leads. So quickly you can take it on as if it's your thought. That's exactly right, Mark.
But we've always done that, haven't we? I mean, you read something and then suddenly you absorb it and it becomes your idea. And that's how humans are.
But it wasn't. I mean, I guess there's always been slop, but not like this, man. I don't know, and for me, I think about the problem right now in our business. I mean, Leo, you've sort of conquered this problem already, but for me, trying to get an independent media brand, off the ground is the volume of work that you have to put out to make a dent, to even have a chance of being noticed as signal above the noise.
I was very, very fortunate that I did this before there was as much noise.
Well, and I wouldn't put out a quality product and all of those other things.
Well, but I don't know if I could succeed.
Podcasts on your network or whatever. I mean, you've got a huge volume, Leo.
Right. Yeah, but we started 21 years ago. I don't think I could start today and do the same thing.
The other thing, Leo, like me, you also were affiliated with respectable media organizations.
I built
early in your career
a career based on mainstream media and was able to then segue into new media. And it was so early in new media that I was able to stand out. There were only 5 or 6 podcasts when I started podcasting. Right. It was a lot easier, let me tell you. And YouTube didn't exist.
So one problem that we're then in is if you
there's a glut of content now.
If you take a principled stand now and you say, I'm just going to write every single thing and do it all by hand, you're never going to be able to put out the volume you would need to be noticed in this market, which is going to now adapt to the idea that we all need to produce at the pace that AI makes possible. And so it puts everyone in an impossible position. I remember having a conversation with somebody high up in a big mainstream organization and media organization, and this person said to me, you should write more for the site. Basically it was their advice. And I sort of said, this was a few years ago, do you know what's about to happen to the value of the written word? Like as a market, just, as a unit price, it's about to go to zero. And so for me, my tactic has been, I'm going to stick with video as much as possible because that seems to create a one-to-one connection that people like. There's some authenticity to the idea that I'm just talking off the top of my head, based on my experience and my ethics and the rest of it, right? But it's just me talking, not in a scripted way. And then I will use AI to help me construct a research dossier that I distribute based on what I've said, or, there's these sort of secondary.
Is that antithetical to authenticity though?
I know, right? I mean,
well, that gets back to my question about the line. I mean, you're not going to say, "Hey, AI, generate and just publish it based on AI," but how will you use it to enhance your writing, and how far will you go with it?
I think honestly, the more we see AI and the more we use AI, the good news is that means humans become more valuable. This happened with facts. Facts used to be a rare and precious commodity. If you wanted to know something, you had to go to the library. You had to make a trip to go to the library to find out something. And remember, we would buy encyclopedias so that you would have some sort of reference material. Yeah, Marshall, you're reaching for your encyclopedia, I can tell.
Yeah, my laptop is stacked on 3 of them right now.
That's what it's for now. It's a doorstop. But facts used to be very valuable, and they have become, in this internet world, worth nothing.
Yeah. And people who used to be good and cheap. Really, people with great memories had value, right? People who had
now it doesn't matter.
Were very valuable. Yeah.
I used to, when I started, so I was doing the Tech Guy radio show for almost 20 years. In the early days, the value I had was I could remember off the top of my head an answer to a question. So somebody come in and say, yeah, my printer's not working. I'm using Windows 95. And I could remember the answer. And by the end of it, it was really a question of if I could Google faster than the caller. Right?
Been there.
I hate to admit this, but it really became, what Google skills do you have?
I know.
But that's a good thing because it democratized facts. Yeah. It's Gresham's law you're saying, Marshall? What's that?
Arguably, that's a relevant concept here. That the low cost, low quality stuff ends up just being produced in such huge quantity that the rarer, harder stuff just gets lost in a sea.
I do think, though, that this in the long run benefits humanity because in a sea of machine produced facts or information of machine created, that stuff becomes table stakes. And what we add to it as humans becomes more valuable as a result, right?
Yeah, and your value, Leo, wasn't so much you knew.
I hope.
Yeah, your value wasn't so much you knew the answer, but you knew how to put it in perspective. You could actually.
I knew how to deliver it. Yeah.
But it's funny. A funny story. Right. I would do 2 ways for CBS all the time for the stations, and once in a while they would prompt me with a question, a topic, and then they got it wrong. They switched topics on me. And they would ask me a question to which I had no idea what they were talking about. And exactly, I would go on Google while they were answering the question and act like I knew.
Bill Handel would do that to me all the time on KFI. He would call up saying, we're going to talk about this. And he would That's when you know if you've got it or not in broadcasting, how quickly you can dance. Walter Cronkite became famous because they'd be covering these famous Apollo and Gemini launches, and there'd be a hold, right, at T-minus 20 seconds. And for 3 hours, he would have to sit there. And all he had was some guy and a model of the rocket, and he would fill it. They used to call Walter Cronkite Old Iron Butt because he could sit there for hours and talk. And that's when the rubber hits the road, or more likely the corduroy hits the seat.
My segments were never that long, so.
I want to take a little break. You were at Jacob. You were at the Musk trial, the Musk versus Altman trial. You were there. You were in person there.
I was. I watched this world's richest man stammer away on the get angry on the stand. It was great.
And you watched. Speaking of lies, you watched Sam Altman being accused of being a liar.
Oh yeah, no, it's good. It was fascinating. It was
I got to get this first person account of the Musk Altman trial, which is over at least for the time being. Elon, the jury said didn't file soon enough, so the statute of limitations, which was only 3 years on this, had run. But that's kind of a technicality. Elon said that himself. He said, I lost on a technicality, so I'm appealing. I'm curious what the merits of that appeal will be, but we'll ask Jacob Ward that question in just a bit. We also have Marshall Kirkpatrick here. What's up with that? Which is the best name for a product I've ever heard. What's up with that? Maybe I'm going to write one called "How You Doing?" But that's that would be another one. Larry Magid, you grew up in New York, right?
No, I was born in New York, grew up in L.A.
L.A. That's right. You're transplant. I was born in New York, grew up in Rhode Island. But
I love New York. Go there.
Yeah, me too. What's up with that? Huh? We'll have more in just a bit. How you doing? But first, a word from our sponsor, Doppel. This is a sad story about the way of the world, how it is now. You get that phone call, that voicemail. Maybe it's an urgent message from your CEO. Maybe it's a deep fake trying to target your business. AI can impersonate trusted individuals, and it's very easy to be fooled. In fact, I'm going to show you how easy it is to be fooled. I'm just going to play a little something that was sent to Burke, one of our employees. Hey, Burke, this is definitely not Leo asking you to buy gift cards. But seriously, can you grab me 100 Apple gift cards? Just kidding. This is Anthony testing text-to-speech. How's it sound? That is not me. I never said that. It sounds exactly like me. Unfortunately, Anthony, who made this, has some honor. But if a thief using the same technology, he literally did this with a couple of minutes of one of our podcasts, could make something very similar, sounds just like me. Thank goodness Burke did not send those gift cards out. This is a problem. AI can impersonate trusted individuals really well. And Doppel's platform illustrates how frequently, this is also the bad news, users fall for phishing attempts. They did a voice call simulation deployment. Target users spent 6 minutes conversing. It wasn't just a message, conversing back and forth with a deep fake. At the end of the 6 minutes, every one of them 100% believed that the AI was a human, was the person they said it was. They could not tell. That's why you need Doppel. Doppel is the AI native social engineering defense platform. Doppel strengthens human risk management by training employees to recognize deception, while their digital risk protection detects and disrupts attacks across every channel. It is a scary world out there as attackers turn to AI to power increasingly sophisticated strikes. Doppel uses it to fight back with automated takedowns, multi-channel coverage, and AI defenses that build intelligence with every fight. Doppel works relentlessly to protect people, brands, and trust. Doppel offers best-in-class integrations and partnerships to seamlessly integrate into your existing security tech stack. Doppel's industry awards and testimonials speak for themselves. Doppel is recognized as a winner 2026 G2 leader of users most likely to recommend, momentum leader, best support. Join hundreds of companies already using Doppel to protect their brand and people from social engineering attacks like the one you just heard. Doppel, outpacing what's next in social engineering. Learn more at Doppel.com, Doppel.com. And Burke, stop sending out those Apple gift cards. I told you it's a fake. I told you. So so how did you get into the trial, Jacob? I mean, how did you do that?
The coolest thing about the American court system is that anybody can go in. So you can,
I mean, that's the theory, right? Is all trials are supposed to be public.
Well, in my case, it was true. So I did not go in under anybody's auspices. I was officially a CNN person, but I really just wanted to see, like, can it work to just get in as a member of the public? And so there was a group of reporters, and I showed up, and long line of them. And I was part of that for a while, but I just went in as part of the public. And when I got upstairs, and the media person for the court, who I don't know personally, but I knew that's what she was, she asked, "Who are you with?" And I said, "I am a member of the public." And she said, "Right this way."
Wow.
And it was so cool. Yeah, so cool.
I remember as a teenager, I used to go sit in courtrooms. Yeah, it was really cool.
It's so cool. So you sit there.
But those were not, by the way, I was one of the few. I mean, that was not Altman versus Musk.
No, that's right. This was cool. I mean, there were so many interesting people because there was a bunch of looky-loos. There was a bunch of just like people who wanted to be there and be part of it.
And everybody came to the stand. I mean, you got to see the who's who of
Nadella, what's his name? Ilya Sutskever, like all these people. Greg
Brockman, the president of OpenAI.
I mean, it was great.
In fact, Greg Brockman's diary ended up being entered into evidence by OpenAI, which was a huge mistake.
If I've learned anything, it is don't write this stuff down, people. I don't care how famous you think you're going to be someday, or what you think your biographers need. Like, don't be writing that stuff down.
I've said this many times. Nobody ever wins these kinds of trials because of discovery.
Yeah. Well, that's right. I mean, that's why we were all there, right? Is because the discovery was so amazing. To see how these guys write back and forth to one another is so amazing. The best one for me was at one point Musk and Altman so they get together in 2015. They say they do this little handshake about they're going to like create this nonprofit that's going to change the world. And literally at one point they're negotiating about what it is the board will look like. And Musk writes in, I don't have the exact words in my mind, but it was something like, we're going to have a board of 12 people, but we should consider whether we want to expand it to 16 people, depending on how much literally, these words were the ones he used, depending on how much the fate of the world will rest on its shoulders. And I was thinking to myself, okay, a board of 12, but then is not ready for that. But a board of 16 is.
All we need is 4 more people, and the fate of the world will be rest assured.
Yeah, right? It's not us 4. Like, I don't think it's the 4 of us, right? It's like, I told my mom, I was like, I think I'd want you on that board. And she's like, I don't want on that board. But,
do you think Elon Musk genuinely believes or believed at the time that AI was a threat to human existence?
I do think he actually believes that on some level. But I think that belief also, it seems to me, is exactly balanced by his very equal belief that he is the only one who can save us all from that.
Right.
Like the thing that you saw over and over again is just that the guy clearly believes he's the only one who matters.
The ego is incredible.
The ego. I mean, everybody there was that way. I mean,
who didn't have an ego? Sam Altman had an ego. Greg Brockman, Satya Nadella. I mean, they all have egos.
Totally. If you want to like make these people upset, as many of these lawyers were trying to do, just accuse them of having made no technical contributions to the product. Their heads would pop off. You just see them be like, yes, I do. I got the servers and I booked the blah, blah, blah.
That's a great strategy for the opposing lawyers.
Totally. The only guy who stayed cool was Nadella, who clearly, he was like a guy at a bar where 2 of the guys he's come with are fighting. And he says to the bouncer, I'm not with these guys. Like, I know them, but sure, but I'm not part of this, and he was just trying to get out of the bar, basically.
Of course, as CEO of Microsoft, they have a large stake in OpenAI and a kind of checkered relationship with OpenAI.
Yes, he was so calm and cool under it, though. He basically was like, we're just trying to sort of like, help this industry work because it's going to work so well for our customers. It's just so, here's just buy the book, about it. Whereas
he's a well-trained CEO. This is why I hate interview CEOs, because they're so well-trained.
They're like sports, it's like athletes, right? They just
came to play, man.
We're just here to win. And in Altman and Musk's case, they were very weird and philosophical, and then that would get objected and They were very odd ducks. And then, the best part, I mean, what I loved the most was just, again, this public courthouse vibe is so great. So this is Oakland, California. It's not a very fancy federal courthouse. And as a result, there's no VIP section. So like, Musk doesn't get to like wait in some green room. Altman doesn't get his own bathroom. So literally Musk in the breaks is going up and down the hallway with his security, just like pacing basically, because there's nowhere to be and he doesn't want to stand around talking to Altman. And Altman at one point, I had to wait awkwardly in line with him for the urinal. We're just standing together. It's so great. What's up? And
what you planning this weekend, huh?
To see that, and then I will say my like, what I also learned is that my kink is watching the world's richest man being slapped around by the judge, this Judge Yvette Gonzalez-Rogers, and him saying, "Yes, Your Honor."
She takes no prisoners. She yelled at Apple for lying in the Apple versus Epic case. In fact, she now holds them by a very sensitive portion of their anatomy because she's going to decide what their commission will be in the App Store. Same judge, and she did not. She told these guys, "I don't want to hear anything about AI doom."
That's right. Don't let us we're not getting distracted by that. At one point, Musk tried to say
such
something.
Respect for her.
I did too. Amazing. I just thought she did such a good job. Anyway, so like I say, it was just fun to watch American, like the last true American democratic thing.
Do you feel like justice was done?
Well, I mean, in the end, I think that these obviously, like, it got dismissed on technicality, right? The statute of limitations.
But I didn't know at the time. I'm sure you did, but was that the jury was only there in an advisory capacity.
That's right.
Judge
so she would have made the decision in the end. Judges impanel a jury like this for an advisory to kind of give themselves cover when they have to make a really hard.
I had no idea
decision.
That was even possible.
Yeah. So she kind of got off easy too, in that she didn't have to take any guff. Although I don't think she cares. I mean, she's just such a tough person. She was great.
Amazing judge.
I think that ultimately this was like billionaires throwing lawyers at each other, which is not how I want the future determined. But
I think Musk undermines his whole story by the fact that he has a competing a frontier AI company called XAI
Sure.
that is going straight at, it's for profit, going straight at OpenAI. So it kind of undermines his whole argument.
Yeah, and just pumping out natural gas power.
Oh, yeah.
A day and night in secret beyond anything that's, if you're concerned about the future of humanity, for goodness sakes, go get some solar.
Well, not to mention, I'm sure the jury isn't allowed to say this, but I doubt any jury has too much sympathy for a guy who is a trillionaire.
Yeah, exactly. We never got to see.
Since AI pilots Teslas, he could literally kill people. I mean, and he already has.
What's your sense of Sam Altman's character and veracity? During the middle of this trial, of course, the New Yorker came out with essentially a hit piece written by Ronan Farrow, implying that Altman was less than trustworthy. Kind of slimy and slippery.
It came up again and again and again in testimony. Basically, you had Ilya Sutskever saying he had a pattern of lying. These former board members saying, "Oh yeah, he would deceive us over and over again." And then he was asked on cross-examination by Musk's attorneys, "Do you lie? Are you a liar?" And he's under oath, so he can't say no. He has to waffle. And so he did. He said, "I'm sure I have lied in my time, in my life," that kind of thing. And then, but over and over again, he was clearly unable to say. He just kept saying, "I consider myself honest in my business dealings." And
I feel like Sam Altman was not done well by his team, because he must have known that question was going to come up. And he really seemed ill-prepared. They asked him, "Are you completely trustworthy?" And instead of just saying yes, he said, "Well, I believe so." "Do you always tell the truth?" "I believe I'm a truthful person."
Yeah.
I mean, he was not well prepared. His people did not do him justice, I think.
I think when you're used to being a kind of backroom dealer, like
that's
he clearly is, that's the thing, But he also, there was a point at which they were asking him why it was that he had insisted on being CEO, and there was emails from Greg Brockman and Ilya Sutskever saying, "Why do you want to be CEO? Is it because of your political ambitions?" And Molo, Musk's attorney, asked him, "What is that about? Did you want to be president of the United States?" He said, sort of rhetorically. And Altman said, No. I was considering a run for governor."
Oh, well,
so it's that kind of thing. The casual way in which these guys clearly believe they are the main characters of the universe, and the rest of us are just kind of background actors, that was the theme for me of this trial.
It is fascinating to watch. I mean, they don't live in our world, do they? Nobody says no to them. They never really are called to account for anything.
Yeah. And they believe that the money is their reward from God for doing good works.
Yeah.
Because they keep talking about how it's not about the money. And then the lawyers would lay out, like, here's the $7 billion stake you have in this company. And you could just see that it just didn't compute for them. They just think of it as, well, clearly, like, the universe is going to just reward me endlessly such that I'll never have to think about money again because my work is so brilliant and important.
Right.
So there's this weird sort of set of background assumptions. I just remember that it's been true for a while that inside some companies you'll have this hierarchy in which the language is like some people are agents and some people are NPCs. Right, that some people have agency, and some people are literally just like the video game characters that you run over with your car. Like it's that thing that I feel like.
What do they call them in Succession? Not a real person. This doesn't matter. They're not a real. Not a person.
serious.
You get a feeling we are just characters in Sam Altman and Elon Musk's play. That we are NPCs. And I'm sure Elon actually believes that he believes we're in a simulation and that really the rest of us barely exist.
And Elon, he long ago fired his press team. Right. He doesn't feel he needs anything that he can't simply control. And I think
he's not wrong. He elected the president with $250 million.
That's right. And he lays people off not just to save money, because he just wants to run things himself as much as possible.
And he may, he may well be a genius. I don't know. He has some real success.
Have you seen the Cybertruck?
Well, but that's the problem, is that no one says no to him, or no one says, Tesla famously, and unfortunately a lot of EVs you have a Tesla, right, Larry?
I do.
A lot of EVs have followed suit, has its charging plug in the wrong place. Because in many cases, when you have to go to a supercharger, you need to back in, or they had to make the superchargers with extra long charging cables because the plug's in the back. Well, it turns out his engineers said we should put the plug in the front, like many of the early EVs actually was in the front grille, so it'll be easier to charge. And Elon said, no, well, I'm renting this house and I need to have the plug in the back because that's the easiest place for me to plug in. As a result, every EV since has its plug in the wrong place, except the Nissan Leaf.
The good news is if you pay $100 a month for full self-driving, it will back in for you.
It'll back in for you. There you go.
I actually own my self-driving. I don't have.
Do you really? And do you trust it?
I bought it a gazillion years ago for $7,000, and I get to keep it. So at least I got to keep it through 2 Teslas. We'll see what happens in the future.
Foolishly, because I had a Model X, the first generation Model X, paid some huge amount of money for the right to at some point get full self-driving, which I never got.
Which to me is a class action suit in the making. I don't know how you can possibly get away with that.
I think it was $5,000 for the right to subscribe to full self-driving should it ever.
I mean, I still don't have truly full self-driving.
No,
it's not unsupervised.
You never will.
I never will.
Yeah.
It will never be a robo-taxi. My car, I will never make money leasing out my car as a robo-taxi.
He's promising that.
Yeah, he promised to me. Not personally, but...
From made in America to made with American values in mind.
Right.
Oh, you're talking about the Trump phone now. Yes. Which is really it's a cheap phone that you could get for free from T-Mobile if you didn't mind that it didn't have a flag in gold on it.
Hey, you can buy a flag in gold and
you just put a decal. I think in a way, there has been an erosion of American character to a point where we just expect everything's a scam and nobody really even thinks about it anymore. It's like, well,
it is so bad. It is so bad that when my wife got an email from Social Security, she blew it off because she thought it was a scam. And when she got a call from Social Security, she hung up on the guy. It turned out it really was Social Security.
Right.
And
how do you know?
Result, it took us an extra 6 months before she got her benefits. Because she just assumed it was a scam.
Of course.
So it went that way in Russia first, right? I mean, that's part of the Putin strategy. You flood the zone and just leave people unwilling or able to trust each other, and without social cohesion, the whole thing comes grinding to a halt.
Right.
Well, what did the SEC fine Elon for pumping the value of the Twitter stock, or actually dumping the value of the Twitter stock before he bought it, with tweets saying it's full of bots, it's no good? They prosecuted. They said, you obviously were trying to influence the value. There was a class action suit from shareholders Twitter shareholders who said, we didn't get the value for our stock because of his tweets. What did they fine him? $1.25 million.
That's like me getting a parking ticket.
Less. It's literally less than you getting a parking ticket.
I know.
It's like, it's not even a slap on the wrist. Right. It's a doink on the nose. It's nothing. It's just amazing.
Jacob used the word hierarchy a little bit ago, and I feel like that's That's a pretty key word. I'll never forget. I read some research years ago that studied CEOs as they climb higher and higher up into their respective hierarchies. The number of people who can say no to them gets smaller and smaller, and so their sense of empathy, which had served the socio-biological function of keeping them in check, just atrophies because they don't need it.
Yeah.
And now with ever more extreme inequality, what do they need to care about other people?
Now they don't have to pretend anymore.
Totally. And I feel like once you've observed humanity and its behaviors and its choices at scale, you emerge with such a low opinion of people, I think this is Zuckerberg's problem. I think he just looks at how we are and is like, these people suck, And
Humans
what do I care? This is true when you talk to people in the gambling industry. They're always like, people are the worst.
Or bartenders.
Yeah.
Or cops.
Yeah. I was a bartender. I still like people after being a bartender. But if I'd done it for 10,000 people, I might have felt differently, sure.
Yeah, Zuckerberg knows how vulnerable you are, how easy to manipulate we are, and takes good advantage of it.
This is always the thing that gets me, is that humans are simultaneously the worst thing ever and the most amazing thing ever.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think it's even true of Elon.
And once in a while we break through.
And once in a while, once in a while there's a Michelangelo. Mm-hmm. There's a Jonas Salk. Yeah. Once in a while we do. And then there are plenty of counterexamples.
And there's some politicians that break through as well once in a while.
I agree.
Yeah. I agree. So you might hate them, you might like them, but they break through.
Right.
Arguably, there could be more of them if all the abundance were not so dramatically misallocated. If anybody else saw this Scott Santon's article I just shared, Scott Santon's is the leading thinker these days around UBI, and he wrote what he calls the Angenine de Poitrine argument for UBI. If you've seen that crazy Montreal noise band, or they're discordant.
Oh, they're hysterical. Rock. Yes, with the paper mache hats.
And so he says, those guys and Albert Einstein, and just how many, if UBI made it possible for even one person out there to be able to stop messing around doing something pointless to pay the mortgage or the rent, and instead became the next Einstein, one of them would pay for the whole thing times over, and presumably there would be more than one.
We did on Friday, I did a special show with a friend named Jeff Atwood, who is a famous coder. He wrote the Coding Horror blog and made quite a bit of money when he sold Stack Exchange. He's devoting half of his fortune, a considerable amount, to some test projects for what he doesn't like UBI, because the idea of UBI is everybody gets a basic income. He likes a guaranteed minimum income. It's like a minimum wage, that there is a bottom that nobody goes below. And so he's funded with a considerable amount of money some projects to test this theory. If you go to staygold.us, you can read all about it. But so I'm not a fan of UBI because Elon doesn't need any more money. You don't need to give Elon $1,000 a month. But I am a fan of the idea of a guaranteed minimum income. And it is possible, but unfortunately, in order to do that, we would have to kind of limit the number of billionaires and how much money they had. They might only be able to get a few hundred million.
The New York City budget is balanced, right?
Yeah.
I was just watching on Mamdani's new Twitch stream.
Isn't that hysterical? Somebody called this the FDR style fireside chats. But instead, of course, doing it on the radio, Mamdani's doing it on Twitch.
He was one of the people I'm thinking about as the politician that broke through.
Yeah.
He was first in mind when I said that.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Yeah.
And I was in New York, as you know, just yesterday. Everybody I ran into, bus drivers, people love him. I mean, he's delivering the goods.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very interesting. So he's funding these programs with a tax on unoccupied multi-million-dollar apartments. Is that where that money's coming from, or is it?
I think so. The first question on his Twitch stream recording was, "How did you pull off this budget?" And he said, basically it was one part, taxes on the rich, and the other part insisting that the budget splits with the state government, like actually respect their agreements. He claimed that there was a number of instances where the city and the state like agreed to go 50-50 on something, and then historically the state would not follow through with their funding, and the mayor historically like wouldn't be able to do anything about it. But he resolved that situation with the current governor.
According to his website, he's the first U.S. elected official to host a recurring multi-platform stream. It's called Talk with the People. Twitch, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, X, Blue Sky, and podcasts. It is the modern fireside chat.
Yeah.
I think that's very interesting. The first one was last Thursday at 4 p.m. And I guess is he gonna do it every week? That's kind of amazing.
I think that's the plan. Yeah. And he has folks come on, and it's the live chat is wide open and full of like,
that's a brave thing to do,
obscene ASCII art.
Yeah. Our live chat on Twitch is also open, but but they're pretty good right now. To be nice.
So he got 35,000 Twitch subscribers
that's
after
awesome.
the very first.
That's fantastic.
Episode.
That's how all elected officials should be responsible to the people who elected them, I think.
You compare that to Chuck Schumer or almost any traditional politician. I mean,
yeah, they don't.
The night and day.
They don't like this. I remember many years ago, I've told this story before, teaching Regis Philbin on how to tweet. And he was really excited. There's video of it on YouTube. He was so excited. He called his wife and said, Joy, I just sent my first tweet and they're talking back to me. He loved this idea of his audience talking back to him. It lasted 1 week. And then he realized they were all talking to him, and he didn't like it, and he canceled the account.
Yeah, he's in the talking business, not the listening business.
Yeah,
that's right.
There you go.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo. All right, let's take a break. More to come with our fabulous panel. Jacob Ward, the Rip Current. You see him on CNN, jacobward.com, and his book, The Loop, is still well worth reading. It was definitely prescient when it came out in 2024.
2022. Yeah, about a year before ChatGPT came out. You think you want to be right when you write a book like that?
You don't really want to be right, unfortunately, but you were. Well done. Bravo. It's great to see you. And of course, Marshall Kirkpatrick, the author of What's Up With That? You can get that at whatsupwiththat.app. Try it out. You can try it for free. Very interesting way to add context to any web page. And it's more than just context. It's kind of adversarial content too, right?
Yep. One of my early users said, "No one will ever be able to fool me again."
Boy, if that were only true. If only that were true. Maybe.
I sometimes think of it as as X-ray vision. Another user called it that. So
that's good. I like it. See through it. And from connectsafely.org, its founder, CEO, and president, Larry Magid. Connectsafely.org. Go there. There's all sorts of information that's very valuable for parents who boy, you got my deepest sympathy knowing how to raise kids in this day and age. I swear.
We just literally this week published the Senior's Guide to Uber. And
that's a great idea.
Yeah, no, we do. We have stuff for seniors, and we have a new task force for 18 to 26-year-olds because they have vulnerabilities. It doesn't go away when you're 18.
No.
In fact, it gets worse in some ways.
Yep.
A lot of anxiety at that age. So
it's a tough world if you're growing up into it, or if you're in it and it's changing under your feet.
Mm-hmm.
It is a tough world, and boy, it's tough to be a senior. We're fortunate, all of us and probably all of our listeners, that we understand technology, we can use it. But you got to feel for the vast majority of people who are entering this world where technology is everything, who have no idea how to use this stuff.
I don't know how anybody who has any diminished capacity, God forbid we could all be there someday, how they handle life today without the ability to thrive online. It's just, I don't know what they're doing.
There was a story about a longtime Yankee fan He'd been going to the games for 60 years, didn't have a smartphone, couldn't go to the games anymore because the tickets are on the phone.
That's right. I couldn't park at UC Davis because I couldn't get a Wi-Fi signal, and the only way to pay for parking is with the app. And I literally had to drive somewhere else because I didn't have Wi-Fi.
What are we doing, folks?
Yeah.
There's this thing called quarters.
Right. Or at least credit card. Yeah.
This is how you know I'm an old man. I have in my car a little change thing with quarters in it, just in case someday I meet a parking meter to take quarters. Someday I may.
Or if you just want to add 10 minutes, you don't want to go, put your credit card back in.
I got to give my credit card.
Well, you're not going to try to change the settings on your toaster, are you?
No. It wasn't Yankees, it was Dodgers. Thank you. Eat the Oligarchs says his name. Robert Westerman, longtime Dodger fan. Finally, the Dodgers responded and gave him a paper ticket.
Thank God.
He's the only one in Dodger Stadium with a paper ticket. Good for you, Robert. Yeah. I'm glad to hear, Errol is his name. Errol Siegel. Glad to hear it. Our show today brought to you by Mill. Now, here is the modern world doing something pretty darn cool. If you, sit at the table and clear your plate. I was brought up to clear my plate, right? There are starving children in China. Clear your plate. But you grow up in a world where you see all this food waste. And you realize I shouldn't have to clear my plate. It's not healthy. I shouldn't have to, at a restaurant, I shouldn't have to, eat everything put in front of me. Food waste seems like a huge problem in this world. What's interesting is it isn't in restaurants. Most of it happens at home. But that's good news because it means we can actually do something about it. And that's when we went out and we bought our Mill food recycler. I love this thing. Mill is right now in our kitchen. We bought it October, I think, of last year, before they were a sponsor. And I fell in love with it so much that I said, can we do ads for you? Because I think everybody should get one of these things. Mill is the odorless, effortless, fully automated food recycler. Everything goes in it. Now, we were composting. But their problem is, you got this thing and it starts to smell and there's fruit flies and stuff. You throw it in the same thing in the mill, potato peels, even, hearts to avocado pits, chicken bones, even dairy. The mill takes almost anything. And then while you sleep, our mill, I have it set up. You can change how it works, but I have it set up to turn on at 9 p.m. While you're asleep, mill quietly transforms those food scraps into nutrient-rich, shelf-stable grounds. There's no mess, there's no smells, there's no fruit flies. And last night we loaded it up. You can put 10 pounds in it. It'll work on it overnight. Reduces it down to almost anything. It can work for weeks before you even have to think about emptying it. You can use the grounds in your garden, add them to your curbside compost. Mill will even pick them up and get them to a small farm for you. Look at this. Since October, we have been using the mill. We have diverted 406 pounds of food scraps from the landfill. That's where it would have ended up. You can actually see your impact. The Mill app will track how much food you're keeping out of landfills. They've already helped customers put over 15 million pounds of food to good use. The Mill is beautiful. It's sleek. It looks great in any kitchen. We got the white one. They have different colors. It offers, by the way, a 90-day risk-free trial. If you don't absolutely love it, you can just send it back. It is risk-free. But I have to say, when you see a stat like that, you go, okay, we're keeping it. I love our Mill. Try Mill risk-free for 90 days. Get $75 off right now when you go to mill.com/twit and use the code TWIT. $75 off right now. Mill.com/twit. Use the offer code TWIT, TWIT. Save some money, save the planet. 406 pounds diverted from landfill. That's amazing. That is amazing. And we care a lot. We do the recycling. We do everything we can to reduce, and we've really reduced our food waste incredibly. And the Mill is a big part of that. Thank you, Mill.
Leo, do you know about Project Drawdown?
No, what's that?
It is the world's leading research quantitatively meta-studies on the most high impact responses to climate change that the world could take. And reducing food waste is the number 3.
No kidding.
Out of 100 different solutions here.
It's huge.
It is.
No kidding.
It is huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
Number 1 is dealing with errant refrigerants, chemicals from refrigerators. If we could get that dealt with, it'd make a huge difference. Number 2 is, I believe, offshore wind power could make a huge difference. And number 3 is reduced food waste.
I had no idea. That is amazing. Because you feel helpless. You feel like, well, as an individual, what can I do? I mean, we drive EVs like you, Larry. We drive EVs.
Yeah, I am, as you're speaking, writing to their press office because I'd like to review this product. It sounds amazing.
Oh, the mill I love the mill.
Yeah, I'd like to write. I'd like my readers to know about it.
It's great. And California introduced. You're in California, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the whole state now does composting.
Yeah.
So you have a compost bin at your curb.
Yeah.
But it is gross. It is.
Well, we actually have 2. We have a worm bin in our kitchen. We have a big thing for the city compost, and we have a smaller one that my wife uses for her worm bin. Now, I don't know if this can go into the worm bin or not. Do you know?
It can. Basically, it's got little mixers and it heats it up. It just removes the moisture, right? So it's like it's all the nutrients are still there. So it's just dry. It's like grounds, like coffee grounds. It's dry. So yeah, the worms would love it. You can use it as compost. Absolutely.
There's certain things she won't let me put in, like she won't let me put bones in the worm bin.
Well, the mill handles bones. There are rules though. If you're going to use this, you couldn't put like marigolds in it because. If you were going to use it as chicken feed, because it's poison, it would be bad. It would be poison. So it actually on the app it tells you. I'm not doing the ad anymore. This is just us talking. On the app it tells you depending on how you're going to use it. Don't do this. Don't put that. But we're just putting it in the compost bin, and so we put everything in it.
And also, I guess you could put a lot more in. Like ours, it fills up pretty quickly. It
fills up. It'll take this much. It's about that big. And then, but the next morning, it's down here.
It compresses it, basically.
Yeah. No, there's no compression. It's just dehydrating it. That's all it's doing. But it turns out most food waste is water. It's liquid.
Yeah.
So that's just dehydrating it.
That's great.
It's pretty cool.
Now, if you could only get people to buy less and just not throw away anything would be.
Well, one of the things I have given myself permission to do is not clear my plate.
Yeah.
Because
that's why you're looking thinner, Leo.
I was in the clean plate club. Eat it all. Eat it. Oh, you don't like it? No. So now even when I go to a restaurant, and I will say to them, it's not that I don't like it. I'm full.
Right. And by the way, I grew up worried about starving children in Europe. That shows how old I am.
Oh, you're really old. It was
my parents. It
was China for me.
Yeah.
No, my parents, to their credit, never did that to me. But my mama was saying, you should eat, manja, eat more. You're going to have some more. It's good. And I would go, yeah, mama. There was no guilt involved. It was just pleasure.
Meanwhile, people are starving because they've been pushed off of the land that they've been sustaining themselves on for years in order to make monocropped export for, controlled by someone else.
Well, I feel guilty. I have to say, I've been selling gadgets for 20 years. Encouraging people to buy a new phone every year. I have definitely some guilt.
I have written many an apology to the world about having been a cheerleader of the internet, a cheerleader of this, a cheerleader of that, and I feel a little guilty too.
Yeah. Let's see what else. The U.S. has invested $2 billion in quantum computing. That's going to be the next big thing. And of course, they're taking a stake in it as well. That's the new way the Trump administration invests. You give us a little piece of the action.
Wait till they find out that the money really only goes one way in quantum
There is no profit in quantum computing. The bulk of the money goes to IBM and global foundries that make wafers and other technology for quantum computing. IBM will receive $1 billion. Like they don't have the money? What? Global Foundries, $375 million. IBM is going to invest the $1 billion. They're going to take the $1 billion from the government and invest another $1 billion to set up a company called Anduril in Albany, New York. I'm not sure why the government's investing in quantum computing. I guess maybe. Well, Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, says it will create thousands of high-paying jobs.
He also said he had never been in touch with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah. Well, a lunch. That's all.
Hi, this is Benito. I'm guessing it's a security thing, right? Because quantum.
We just don't want the Chinese
right?
to get it first. That's all. We just don't.
But it breaks all encryption, so they want it.
Oh, you think they? Oh, that's it. Yeah,
that's right. And no password is safe again. In theory.
Yep.
Between that and Mythos, we're all going to walk around naked from now on.
California has fined General Motors $12.75 million because GM was selling data from OnStar to data brokers. Whoops.
Another slap in the wrist.
A slap in the wrist. Yeah. The lawsuit accused GM of sharing detailed customer information, including driving habits, geolocation data, names, and contact details with third-party data brokers. Between 2020 and 2024, hundreds of thousands of California drivers were affected.
Well, certainly that is less surprising than the story that you covered a few weeks ago, I believe, about how all of the, or most of the state health insurance marketplaces were selling data.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Like, whew.
Yeah, the ACA websites all had data collection tools, and they were selling it to data brokers. And of course, on an ACA website, you give them a lot of information, income information, health information.
And not exactly knowing that it's going to be there. Like no one's ever asking.
So you mentioned this at the beginning of the show. I don't know if this is going to pass. It's part of the federal highway bill, a bipartisan amendment to end police license plate tracking. They will be cities and states will be stripped of federal funding unless they kill their automated plate tracking programs, particularly Flock. Right, Flock is the big one.
Yeah.
There's been debates in every community. They're debating in my community in Petaluma right now because there's cameras, and there's a lot of value, of course, in having these automated license plate readers. The problem is they're used sometimes not in such great ways. We just saw a story about a law enforcement official was using an ALPR from Flock to track his girlfriend, his ex-girlfriend. Thousands of ALPR reading from this guy. But I mean, that's a rogue use. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this. Yeah. What do you guys think?
So the city I live in has canceled its contract with Flock, and the cameras have been removed after protests.
Yeah.
People don't like the idea.
It's one of those many examples of the nuances of good ideas with unintended consequences. I deal with that every day as an internet safety person because there's all these bills out there that would do wonderful things to protect children, but take away their rights, spy on them, deny them access to important information that they need, yada, yada, yada. And this is just one more example. I mean, of course, we want to capture kidnappers and child molesters.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's hugely valuable for that, or an elderly person who's driven off, or and you really, do you have a right to privacy when you're in public roads?
Well, the problem, right, is that it's not just about the privacy. It's about like the. So I was talking to these two mathematicians who were doing a study of cameras, speeding cameras, and they figured out that it was still much more likely to tag black and brown people. And the simple read is, because they drive faster. No. Well, yes, but not for the reasons you think. What they determined was black and brown people in this particular city, I can't remember, it was like Detroit or one of these, are living in these post-industrial areas with huge 4-lane roads. They got to drive huge distances to get to work. And that's where people were putting the speed cameras. And as a result, people in those neighborhoods, as opposed to people who live in a leafy suburban enclave where it's much, where you couldn't speed anyway because you're in a compressed little road, they don't get hit with those speeding cameras. So there's a whole layer of like, how do you equitably deploy something like that? I have to say, I'm very tied in knots about this one. Like I live in Oakland, California, where there has been a huge amount of like petty crime and vehicle crime, and
they often don't prosecute it because it's so hard to prosecute.
Yeah,
right?
And you're not allowed to chase because the police end up killing people.
They don't want high-speed chases. Yeah.
So I do have to say, like from 1,000 feet up, I look down and I think, well, this maybe license plate readers is the trick here. I took a trip to Brazil this past summer. And when you get off the plane, they barely check. You barely talk to a human. You don't even really hand over you hand over your passport at one point, but like, all you really do is walk down an incredibly long hallway, and you're being recorded 1,000 different ways. Your face is getting biometrically grabbed. Your gait, how you walk, is getting grabbed. All of that is getting grabbed. And then when you bop around in a place like Rio, there's just Chinese cameras everywhere because China has exported these systems to all these big capitals and big cities. And I was talking to people in Rio about this, and they were like, we like that it's brought down crime. They're all for that because it had a huge violent crime problem. But then they were also like, but there's also weird stuff happening, like cops are using the footage and monetizing it on YouTube for themselves.
There's misuses. There's this Georgia police chief who's being prosecuted because he used these ALPRs to stalk and harass people. But we give police all sorts of powers to protect us. That's part of the deal. And there are some bad eggs, but that's how nobody suggests, well, maybe some are, but most people are not suggesting we get rid of police. I am also twisted in knots. I feel like there's some real value to it. I think people just hate the idea of these cameras everywhere. Here's a story from German scientists in the Karlsruhe Institute for Technology. Ordinary Wi-Fi can now identify people with perfect accuracy. Your Wi-Fi router can actually not only see that you're there, but can identify you.
Yep.
Even if you're not carrying an active device, by observing by observing the propagation of radio waves, we can create an image of the surroundings and of persons who are present.
There's an American version of this too. I've seen, and you don't need a warrant to use that, to park a van outside somebody's house and run that.
Nope.
Like no warrant required. There's a new system where they'll identify you individually by your heartbeat using a laser from like 200 yards. And
I'm wondering, the reason
have that.
I thought of this is I'm wondering if the Brazilian corridor you're going down is also doing gait analysis, because
that was my understanding, is that the reason you're walking and not stopping in place and turning left and right.
You just got me so paranoid, because between my Apple Watch, my CPAP machine, which has a built-in modem, it's got a cellular connection, my Oura Ring.
I'm wearing all that stuff,
glasses,
and I have a little Chinese AI in here.
I mean, God.
You're a one-man NSA, Larry. It's true.
I'm kidding.
No, we live in this world. Privacy is
and it's like out of the 9 identified planetary boundaries required for like life on Earth to exist, there's like 7 out of those 9 have been passed now, have been crossed over.
You mean the Goldilocks zone kind of thing?
Yeah. Around everything from ocean currents to mysterious chemicals to temperature to what have you. So it's like it's a pretty unsustainable situation we find ourselves in, and now.
So we don't have to worry because we're just going to be wiped out any day now.
Well,
doesn't happen all at once, Leo.
Yeah, death by a million cuts.
Well, you and I, Leo, we'll probably die of old age. Right?
Yeah, we'll be all right. I feel bad for kids being born right about now. What did you say? 7 out of 10?
7 out of 9. Yeah, have been passed.
Have been breached, like the 2 centigrade temperature increase.
Here, I'll drop the link in. Ocean acidification is now.
And these are some of these are irreversible. That's the problem. And worse, they pile on. They become exponential quickly.
Yeah, feedback loops and what have you. So given those circumstances, and You got your tight alignment between the super wealthy and the government that they have. You know, the super wealthy with an interest in the status quo, and the government that then, like, do you want the government to have perfect surveillance?
That seems like minor compared to the acidification of the ocean. But it also explains why Mark Zuckerberg is building a $100 million bunker under his house in Hawaii. This is the funniest thing. The rich think that they somehow will escape this reality. Elon thinks we're going to Mars. We're not going to Mars.
No.
I hope he does.
Got bad news for Elon.
He's not talking about that as much anymore, I have to say. He's been pretty quiet about that lately.
I don't know. He was wearing the Occupy Mars shirt, and I think he had a very successful launch of a Starship yesterday. I don't know. All right, let's give you some good news. I don't want to leave you with a depressed point of view. Remember when Cox Media Group, the cable company, was advertising, and we talked about it, I was skeptical of it, was advertising that you as a marketer could buy active listening technology from them, that they were tapping people's phones and had perfect marketing information from their phones, from their TVs, from their cars, and they could sell that to you, and your ads could be perfectly targeted. And I at the time was a little skeptical. Well, it turns out the FTC says, and now they're in trouble because they didn't actually work. The FTC is fining Cox Media Group for selling active listening technology that didn't work. If it worked, no problem.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, is that what we're upset about?
That's what we're upset about. They deceived their customers, businesses, by claiming they could target ads based on audio recordings collected from consumers' smart devices via a marketing service called Active Listening. Why did they get in trouble? Because the FTC said, but it didn't work. So maybe this isn't the happy story that I thought it was.
Well, the happiness was that it didn't work. Right?
But yeah, well, that's what should be reassuring.
And that came out in Discovery, if you will.
Yeah. Wow. I have lots more. There's so many more stories, but I'll tell you what, I think we probably should wrap this up because we've gone more than long enough, and I don't want to.
What did they call Walter Cronkite? Iron Butt?
Old Iron Butt. That's me.
Leo, you are that guy.
I'm the new Iron Butt.
Yeah, you are.
You know what? I could easily. Yeah, it's funny because I'm not the longest podcast by any means. Joe Rogan just did a 3.5-hour podcast interview with Mark Andreessen. And I saw that Lex Friedman did an interview with David Hannemeyer Hansen, the creator of Ruby on Rails, that went 6 hours plus. Mm-hmm. So, hey, we're only 2 hours and 44 minutes in. This isn't long.
My back already hurts, so.
All right, we'll wrap it up. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience. And thank you, Larry Magid, for surviving. ConnectSafely.org. Everybody should go there. There's lots of good stuff. I love that. The senior citizen's guide to Uber. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. We also have a teenager's guide to Uber. Covering cradle to grave.
Cradle to grave.
Well, I don't have dead people yet, but
I've been saying this lately. It's only a matter of time before my kids come to me and ask for the car keys permanently.
I don't have car keys. I just use my phone.
Yeah, I don't have car keys. Good luck, kids. You ain't getting my car keys.
I'll give them your car keys. I'll think they
you can have the key. I don't need that.
Right.
Good point. No, that's why I keep hoping that there will be someday self-driving cars because, I guess there's always Uber. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate what you do for kids and seniors at connectsafely.org. And I'm sorry about CBS News Radio.
No.
It's a sad day. Sad day. But it's always a happy day when you're here. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks also to Marshall Kirkpatrick. Check out whatsappwiththat.app and whatsappwiththat.app/Hawkeye. It's the modern way to keep up with what social's saying about your company. I don't want to know. But some people need to know. Sometimes you need to know. Appreciate that. Thank you, Marshall. It's great to see you.
Thanks for having me on.
What is the box you're talking into? That is the weirdest microphone I've ever seen.
It is called a Beecaster microphone.
Huh.
And it's
it's like a bumblebee.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought I'd seen every mic in the world. And now it's going bzzz,
We got a buzz now.
like a bumblebee.
I once went to the launch conference, I believe it was.
Hey, Marshall, real quick, I think you need to jigger the cable a little bit. It's buzzing.
Jigger the cable. Oh, it's so funny looking. I like this.
Is that any better now?
No, it's all right. The show's over anyway. Go ahead.
Is this the ad for VCast? Is this what that is?
This is not the best ad for the Bcaster. Okay, it's better now. There it is. It's a cool looking microphone.
Yeah.
So I went to this big startup event one time, and we were like, oh, Walt Mossberg's going to be there. Walt Mossberg's going to be there. Oh, maybe he'll come and talk to us and see our demo. And we were like, oh, I don't know. And then he started coming around the table, and he approached us, and he said, I've just got one question for you. What's that mic you're using? And it was a snowball mic. And he was like, okay, cool, thanks. See ya.
Thanks, good. All right, see you later. Bye. Thank you, Marshall. Great to see you again. And thank you, Jacob Ward. You're hitting on all cylinders now. JacobWard.com. The book is The Loop. There's the RipCurrent.com, his newsletter. You'll catch him on CNN. And we're very lucky to have him every month on Tech News Weekly with Micah Sargent.
You took a flyer on me when none of those things were true, Leo. So
I think you're great. I'm really glad that CNN is finally seeing the light. That's great. What is it just technology?
Yeah, it's technology. I mean, it's amazing. Once you start wandering into that, the thing everybody forgets is that as you know, every single story is a technology story now.
It is.
So,
Absolutely.
So I do find myself just like on the wheel of death. And it's great.
Nice.
Very high quality problem.
Makes me very happy when I see
Good luck when Paramount buys it, if that happens.
Yeah.
It's funny.
They'll keep you around, though.
I'm watching people like Anderson Cooper and stuff, and I really feel like they kind of feel the shadow over their shoulders, and as a result, they're becoming a little bit more like aggressive and a little bit more newsy. Like let's be good news. Let's be good reporters while we can, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe
better than being acquiescent.
Instead of just rolling over and saying, "Please keep me, please."
Yep.
You know what? Who knows what's going to happen? It's a crazy world. You never know.
Yep.
And that's why we do this show every week. You never know. We do Twit every Sunday.
The elephants aren't acquiring Twit, are they?
Oh God, if they did, I'd be thrilled. I'll sell it for $50 million is all it would take.
Phone number's out there.
I'll do whatever Barry Weiss tells me to do. Just come on and write a check. That's all I need. No, I'm not ready to sell out quite yet. Actually, I like doing this. I enjoy what I'm doing. I don't need to sell out. It makes me a little jealous when I see that, podcast with 1/10 of our audience selling for hundreds of millions of dollars to OpenAI. It's like, where did I go wrong? Oh, I didn't interview Sam Altman enough. That's the problem. That's my mistake. No, we're happy doing what we're doing. We've been doing it for 21 years. I'd like to do it for another 21. I'll be sitting here. Larry, it'll be you and me talking about our sciatica.
If we're lucky, we'll have it.
I got this pain. You got that? You know how that pain up and down your side? You know that? We do this show every Sunday afternoon, 2 to 5 p.m. Pacific, 5 to 8 Eastern, 2100 UTC. I say that because you can watch us live. Of course, if you're in the club, and I hope you are, that's the best way to support independent podcasting. I don't need a big check from a millionaire. I just want some little checks from people who care about good content, independent content. Twit.tv/clubtwit. Join the club. And if you're in the club, you can watch us in the Club Twit Discord and talk with us too after the fact. Well, actually, I should mention, you don't have to be in the club to watch live. We also stream it on YouTube, just like Mamdani, Mayor Mamdani. YouTube, Twitch, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Kick. And you can chat with us in all of those too. After the fact, you can watch the show. We do record it onto reel-to-reel tape and offer it in both audio and video form at the website, twit.tv. There's a YouTube channel dedicated to Twit. Great way to share clips with friends and family. Or you can subscribe in your favorite podcast client and get it automatically as soon as it's done. Benito Gonzalez, our esteemed technical producer, thank you. He's going to get an airplane to fly to the Philippines tomorrow, but he'll be joining us next Sunday from the Philippines, where it will be 4 a.m.
Yep.
Sorry, Benito. Thanks to Kevin King, who edits this show after the fact. Thanks to all of you for joining us. Thanks to our great panelists. We will see you next time. As I have said for 21 years, and I'm going to keep doing it until they drag me off. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week. Another Twit is in the can. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody. Leo Laporte here, and I'm going to bug you one more time to join Club Twit. If you're not already a member, I want to encourage you to support what we do here at Twit. 25% of our operating costs comes from membership in the club. That's a huge portion, and it's growing all the time. That means we can do more, we can have more fun. You get a lot of benefits, ad-free versions of all the shows. You get access to the Club Twit Discord and special programming like the keynotes from Apple and Google and Microsoft and others that we don't stream otherwise in public. Please join the club. If you haven't done it yet, we'd love to have you. Find out more at twit.tv/clubtwit. Thank you so much.